Welcome into today's video, you guys. Today is going to be a full-scale eyeshadow declutter. I probably did one, I never even remember when the last time I do declutters is, and I jump into a new declutter video and I'm like 6 months ago, and then it was like a year ago. My concept of time when I do declutters is like, it's just non-existent. I literally lose context. The reason for today's video is because I just did a ranking of all the eyeshadow palettes that I tried for 2024. I had 70 palettes. But also, if you're not new to my channel and you guys are current subscribers, you know that I did a palette a day series in 2024 that I'm bringing on into 2025. Which way do I lean? Is it this way? Yes. You see all those right there? I don't know, you guys. It's got to be about 40 palettes that I hauled in 2024, just getting more into indie brand eyeshadows. And so like I bought a bunch just because I wanted to, and it made me happy. And that's where I went because the quality was just so good and I really wanted to build my collection at the same time as kind of feature those independent brands on my channel. So I brought in a lot of new palettes and I still haven't tried them. I'm still going to incorporate them into a palette a day or eyeshadow palette a day video. I did do a look today with an older palette. It's the Silent Night palette from Gourmand Girls in collaboration with Doodles by the Bunny. I absolutely love the quality of these ones that are in collaboration with Doodles by the Bunny. And I have the other one, the Haunted palette. Anyway, that's a side note. But the reason that I want to do this eyeshadow declutter video is because I know what kind of quality I'm kind of looking for now, and I know what kind of color stories that I'm liking, and just playing around a lot more. And even though I feel like I kind of recently did that eyeshadow declutter, it's time. I have a setup, an Alex 9 over here that holds all of my eyeshadows that, as you know, Alex 9 drawers don't even come out all the way. You can't store a lot in there anyway if you want to be able to like see them all. And I'm really trying to get better at like using the palettes that I have in my collection, or just all the makeup that I have in general, but also incorporate the stuff that I really like and stop kidding myself that I'm going to go back to palettes that are not as good a quality as some of the other ones that I have. And that's not to say that indie eyeshadows are the only ones that I want to keep in my collection, just that I've gotten better at understanding what kind of formulas I'm looking for and color stories and all of that stuff. So anyway, we are going to go through everything because I actually went back to my old job recently and I'm going back in 5 days a week, and I started throwing on some single shadows and I noticed some of them are dry. So I need to go through them. I need to declutter the stuff that I know I'm not going to wear, the stuff that's old. And I think probably all my eyeshadow palettes are probably still good because I've accumulated them only over like the last 3 years when I started building my collection, but we're going to get rid of the stuff that I know that I don't want. So we're going to go through everything. I'm going to show you everything. So it'll be a collection / declutter style video. I don't have a new set of drawers yet that I want to get for the setup of storing some of the new indie brand eyeshadows, just like the overflow. So I'm not going to be able to show you guys them putting it away. I'm probably going to go find like a secondhand dresser to put into this room so that I can store the eyeshadows. So unfortunately I won't show you that, you guys, but I'm going to give you the goods. We are probably going to do some swatches, at least on the single shadows. Hopefully you guys enjoy this video. If you guys aren't currently subscribed, you know what I say. I hope you do so that you can stick around. Now let's get into the declutter. Okay guys, I'm grabbing drawer by drawer. That's the best I can do here. I'm going to do my best to really get rid of stuff that I'm not using. I'm gonna try and be good. I really am. I feel like I'm in a decluttering mood, so I'm going for it. This one from Essence came out the year before last, and it came out with a bunch of different ones. This was just one of the color stories. This was the Sin City one, and it was an all shimmer. I haven't reached for it, but I'm not ready to let it go. It's pretty, and these shimmers actually perform really well. Most of these are chunky, but they're still good quality, especially for the price point. So Stay, I guess I'll put Stay over here. These ones from Milani, I'm so on the fence about because I haven't reached for them in so long, and so I'd like to try and use them again so I have information as to like how I feel about them. So Luster Light is this one. I'm always stumbling on my words. It's a nice pink option. I'm gonna keep them for now. Gilded Nude. I mean, there's some pretty good shimmers in here. Like the shimmer formula is really good. I just don't remember this formula lasting super long. It reminds me a lot of Sigma, the Milani ones. These are made in Taiwan. A lot of Milani stuff is actually made in Italy, but these were both made in Taiwan. I'm gonna hold on to it. This one from Catrice is the Rainforest Haze. The shimmers in here are so good. Really, for Catrice, like an affordable-ish brand, they're really delicious, but the mattes in here are nonsense. You've got this one that pulls a really funny green color. It's like almost, I don't know, I don't really like the color. And then 2 shades that don't show up. So you're basically diffusing this shade out, and this one is really patchy. It does not blend well. So I'm gonna pass that one along. Surprisingly, from Believe Beauty, these are really good. They're supposed to all be Like, you're supposed to have some mattes in here. They call these like mattes, I guess. but they feel like creams. They're so intense and they're really pretty. Like I'll swatch one just so you guys can see, like they're not bad. It's a sparkly shade. Here's one that just feels super creamy for Believe Beauty, where it's literally, I mean, these are like, you know, $7, but you still get them from the dollar store. This one definitely feels like it's drying out though, I'm not gonna lie, but I haven't reached for them, and the last time I did, I remembered liking them, so for now I'll hold on to it. All right, let's go through the 4 of the Flower Beauty shimmer palettes. None of these are going. Jungle Lights, Desert Lights, Coastal Lights, Garden Lights. This is the darker of the 4, I think, personally. Like, I don't know. This one has lighter shimmers to me, but I don't know. Maybe it's kind of even. These are so good from the drugstore. Well, they're not even at the drugstore. I think these are like exclusively Ulta, but I'm gonna hold on to all of them. Coastal Lights is the one that I like the least, so if I happen to get a chance to use this like more recently, I might pass this one along, because the only one that's like kind of foily is this shade right here. These are all like softer shimmers. I guess I like having all 4 of them though. Desert Lights was my favorite at one point just because it had some really, really light reflecting shades. And then Jungle Lights here, I think came out with the Coastal Lights. Like it came out with this one. Also, absolutely fabulous. I need to reach for these more. You guys, I gotta go through my collection more frequently. So these ones are gonna stay. All right, let's go through some BH Cosmetics. So this one from BH Cosmetics was the BFF Alondra and Elsie palette, and it was such good quality, and there were really good shimmers in here. It was a formula that I felt like was the good BH Cosmetics formula, but I don't think I'm gonna end up reaching for this again. It's not something that I think about, and of these larger ones, I definitely held on to this one over decluttering some of the other ones, but boy, I really just haven't reached for this. I don't think I'm going to. Like this shade right here looks so delish, like all on its own. Like look how pretty that is. It's kind of a coppery shade though, but it's, I don't know, it's almost got like a red base to it. It's really good, but I know myself, I don't even like the way these little circular pans look with all this extra space. I'm okay with letting this go. I'm gonna pass it along. All right, my husband's doing the blender downstairs. I hope you guys don't hear that too much. These are the ones that were the Weekend Vibes collection, the only ones that I've held on to from BH Cosmetics. Lost in Los Angeles was the pastel palette. I don't use pastels very often, but I think it's probably my favorite pastel palette in my collection. I might change my mind once I use the one from Blend Bunny, but I haven't yet. The one that's like the all pastel palette. What is that called? I can't remember. But I haven't even used the Blend Bunny formula on my highs yet at all. Partly because the palettes are just so dang big. So I still want to hold on to this one. This one, Party in Puerto Rico. I've barely even used this. None of these shimmers even look touched but one. I want to give it a go. Come on, Carrie. I'm going to keep it. And then Saint-Tropez. I like it. I like it. I do like it. A lot of purples here for deepening shades, and some colors in the shimmer department that I probably wouldn't pair with like a purple or a blue in the outer corner, and that's too bright. I'm gonna pass the Saint-Tropez one along. Let's go over these ones in the, I always forget the collection that these are called. This one's Low Key Love You. I really liked the quality of these. I like that they're 9 pans, that they're a little bit smaller. The shimmer formula was just really good in these. The shimmer formula is amazing. Boom, boom, boom. And I had a ton more, and I ended up getting rid of them last year whenever I did my eyeshadow declutter, but I haven't reached for them since then. That doesn't mean that I shouldn't and that these aren't good. So I'm still gonna hold on to these 3. And then 2 more from BH Cosmetics. The whatever collection this one was, or these were, Avocado Toast. Oof, really pretty. One thing I've realized is I don't love when the pans are super deep set and they're smaller. Then I can't always get like a good swatch with my finger because I apply the shimmers with my fingers all the time. That's how I like to do it. This has only a couple deepening shades. So no matter what, I'm always gonna deepen. I have not used this recently, so I feel like I wanna hold on to the ones I haven't touched recently as long as I remember liking them. This one is very bright. I like this shimmer pop. pop. Like, is it worth it keeping? No. I'm gonna pass Mimosa along. I'm only gonna hold on to Avocado Toast because it's also neutrally. I guess I've just been more into pairing greens with neutrals than bright pinks lately, and bright pinks used to be my thing. I would wear pinks constantly. I'm just steering away from them a little bit more. And the last two here are also like affordable. Oma Beauty by Sharon C, the more affordable line. I think this closed down, like it's not even in Walmart anymore, but this was the same formula that she had in her larger eyeshadow palettes, just put into like drugstore pricing. I don't think these were that cheap, but it was so freaking good and these shimmers were amazing. So I'm going to hold on to this. It's another thing that I'd like to pull all of the ones that I'm keeping out again. I'm always just testing so many. With the singles, I feel like I've been going back for those, but I haven't been reaching in and grabbing older palettes recently. This one from NYX was like fine. It's just that I don't think NYX has the greatest eyeshadow formula ever, and I really do only find like this being a deepening shade because I don't like deepening with like shades like this. And this will come out way too blue on me. I just know that. I don't love teals. I think they're trickier. I really do, like in actual practice, because I will wear colors like this. Like you guys saw the eye look that I'm wearing. It's a yellow, it's a blue. I don't love that. So I'm not saying that this is a terrible formula. I'm just saying I have better ones. I don't think NYX is like, I don't know, as good as something like inexpensive like this or BH Cosmetics. Like even this formula was slightly more impressive. So I'm gonna pass this along. So out of this, you guys, I ended up getting rid of 4. Oh my gosh, 5. Carrie, count. There's 5 here that we are getting rid of. I just grabbed the first drawer and like the top ones are the more affordable ones. So anyway, there's gonna be some more affordable ones upcoming. All right, so the more affordable ones, it's mostly Juvia's Place Moira and ColourPop. No, it's not mostly, that's what it is. So let's move these aside again. And I think I'll go through Moira first because I only have 3 palettes from Moira. I've cut this down. I don't go for affordable shadows all that often. The Essential Nudes was good. I ranked this like midway through my ranking for 2024 because I think this was a new release for them. It's just that these aren't very long lasting shadows, and while this is a great travel palette, honestly, I would rather grab like a quad from Viseart to travel with or like something else. This is not bad. Like if I'm cutting down my collection, this can be one that goes because of 1, the way it makes me feel, 2, it's not super long lasting. Like a Natasha Denona Quint would be just as good or better to take. And this is so affordable, I can totally pass this along. Then this one from Moira, these are the Moira Land like series palettes, and this one was Magic Dreaming. They're so bulky, but they're so cute at the same time. This one is tricky because it's a wild color story. I think these ones like this are just kind of wild. They're all over the place. Like this one too is a little bit, it's sporadic, you know? Like you have a really deep shimmer here that I think you could probably pair with like this or this matte, because that's kind of how I like to do it. But this is almost like more purple. Would it really look good, you know? Like more of a blue. It's such a wild color story with some pastels in it, with neutrals. You know, I can't make heads or tails of it. Like if they were laid out in like quads or something, or just like different than this, it would make more sense to me. I think I really like the shimmer right here, which is all mine. It's a really pretty shade, but I mean, I have a lot of pretty shades. It's just, I don't know if I need this in my collection. You know, for collection's sake, is it really something I want to hold on to? Let me compare it to this one and see, does this color story make a little bit more sense? Honestly, I don't know. Like this is definitely wild, and this one I could wear more every day. I don't know why, but this is so all over the place. There's just something here that's missing. Like this shimmer could be good with this one and this one, but it's just a little bit too purple. And I don't always love purples in the outer corner, and it could go with this one, but where's the light shimmer, you know? I don't know. I feel like I'm missing something with this. So I'm gonna pass this one along. And I think for now, I'm gonna hold on to this one because there's some real everyday, like simple looks I think I could create with this while still going kind of wild with it. All right, let's get through the Juvia's Place ones next. I've cut this collection down pretty well too. So I have the big one, the Culture 2. This one is, I think, really good. Now some of the mattes are a little bit tricky, but some of these are like multi-chromes and they're thin and actually really stunning. That's not a multi-chrome, Carrie. Where's another multi-chrome? I don't know. There's only a couple in here, but that first one is definitely one. I think this is just the shimmer quality in this is really good. I haven't reached for it in a while. Well, I could say that about a lot of these, but I still want to hold on to this one. And then these little ones from Juvia's Place are the 6 pans, and they're good. They used to be my absolute favorite because they were just like quick and easy or whatever, but they're both getting a little bit dry. Like I want to like kind of swatch these, not kind of, I want to swatch them. It's still pretty creamy. I think I'm going to hold on to this one, but I'm going to get rid of the berry one. I think I held on to it for this shade here. That's definitely more like a topper. And while it's really pretty, I can tell it's getting on the dry side. And I don't love these kind of like purples in the outer corner. I think I'm going to. Actually, that's way more burgundy. See what swatching will do? I think I want to try it because this was the shade that was going to make me get rid of it because I hate when they come out too purple. I want them to be more deep and wine like this. And I thought it was going to pull too purple, but it doesn't. So I'm going to hold on to both for now. All right. And these ones here, the Nubian by Juvia's, it's fine. It's warm. I'm just going to pass it along. The Nubian 3 Coral was one of the more unique ones that I had from Juvia's Place, but it is super warm. I don't think I need this. The Saharan by Juvia's. This one's just, it was so interesting, a color story. I liked it, but honestly, these are not outer corner shades for me. I literally never find myself loving reds or orangey reds in the outer corner. Yeah, I'm gonna pass this one along too. I'm actually doing pretty good. Thought I wasn't gonna do that good. All right, the rest here are from ColourPop, and is there any sense in any of these? I think these are the smaller ones that I have. Okay, let's just go by size. So that's taupe. You know, I bought this because it was popular, not because this is a color story that I love, but I've not used it that much. I don't think I'm ready to let it go. I think this is like the old ColourPop formula that I used to really enjoy. You'll see I've decluttered some of the newer ones, and there's one that came out last year that I really want to get rid of. I'm gonna hold on to it. She's Got Solstice, I loved. I don't know why. This is so good. It broke on me, but some of these shimmers were just so delish, and the mattes performed really well. And they were like, the gradient that they created was actually super nice. Like it just came out really well every time I used it. So I'm gonna hold on to it. Going Coconuts I also picked up because it's just a popular color story and I've used it a couple of times, but I still want to hold on to it because I think this is more of like stuff I would reach for now than when I actually bought it because it was popular. And then All Things Equinox. So neutral, so everyday. Hello, hello, hello. I think I'll keep it. I held on to these ones and decluttered a bunch last year, and I can see why. So I'm gonna hold on to that one. Then these two are this size. By the Rosé is that one, and So Fly is this one. I thought that this was so unique and different that it had this blue in here, but if I'm being realistic, I never want to pair a shade like this with a brown, you know? I don't think that's great. Like, I think in my mind it will work, but I'm totally going to ignore this shade and go for the other ones, and I have that in other things, so I'm going to pass that along. And here's a little rosy toned gem. I need to use it again. I absolutely do. I'm not letting it go. Off Melrose was one of my favorites once upon a time because it's primarily cooler tones. I think this is a warmer tone, but something about it was so nice. I think I'm still gonna hold on to this one. Then this one from ColourPop came out this year. Terrible quality, terrible. There's chunky ones. Like, what are these? Like, I don't understand what these are. They're not like pressed glitters, but they're like super dry. I mean, it's kind of leaking out, but like they're just piecey. They're sparkle, you know? No base, just weird glitter. I don't love them. I don't. I'm sorry. I can see that the oils have leaked out into the pan, but I had hard panning in this shade. Pretty much, I think that was just the hard panning in this shade, but these ones are so desaturated and they just didn't build up. I did not enjoy this palette, not one bit. If you guys watch my ranking video, you know this was like one of the bottom palettes. This one's going for sure. And then I have my two larger ones from ColourPop. This one I just tried for the first time this year, the It's a Mood, and then this one is Getting Fresh. This one just because it's like brand new, I'm totally not ready to get rid of it. The quality on this was so good. So I think everybody kind of says that, which is the quality in the bigger ones is really good. It's just, can you stand a bigger palette? I liked the variety here. This stuff makes sense. You've got like sections that you can build, and then you can jump around, and you can do so many things with this. But the quality was so good. Even though it just looks like, oh, they're tiny little pans, and every shade when you're staring at it looks like they might perform the same, but they just don't. This was great. This one here has sentimental value, and I'll try not to cry because every time I talk about this dang palette, I cry. So sentimental value, I probably never get rid of that one. I think I did good. I'm doing way better than I thought I probably would. 7 from this one. So we've gotten rid of, was it 7? And then 5 before, so 12 so far. I'm keeping my stack here, so we will count at the end. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry for all this glitter. Okay, you guys, here is the next drawer. It's made up of Nabla, ABH, Too Faced Tarte, and there's one KKW in here. And I think like Oma, I don't know. There's a couple of other like one-offs that I have. So let's set these aside. Let's go through Nabla first. All right, I had a ton of these cutie palettes, and I only held on to the coral one, probably because the shimmer in here was the best. But honestly, these ones were kind of patchy for me. This didn't do so well in the outer corner, and I loved this mandarin shade. I think I can pass it along. I do. These Nabla ones, I don't reach for. This dreamy one is super desaturated. They're nice, like soft shimmers, but I can tell I didn't even touch these 3. I don't know. It's not a color story I feel like I need. It's a thing here, folks. You don't need any of this. And this one has like warm tones and cool tones in it, but it's such a neutral palette. You know, you need those staple neutrals. But do I need this one is the question. I think for now I'll actually hold on to both of them so that I can test them again, because they have decent color stories to them. But I'm gonna pass that one along, of course. One from KKW. I just liked the quality of this. It was really good. And I still want to hold on to it. It was like one of the last things that I bought before the brand like completely went out of Ulta, which was like 2 years ago at this point, maybe a little bit longer, but it was still so good. I'd like to reach for it again. And then this one from Oma Beauty, the Black Magic palette, the Royal Heritage. This was so good. This is like the same quality that was in the Oma by Sharon C palette, the little quad from the drugstore. So good if you're like purple, pink look. So I'm gonna hold on to that one. And I think I have 2 from Wander Beauty. Yes, I do. The Escape palette. This is the Wondrous Escape. Hello. This is actually really good quality. It's a really good formula. These are like lighter, you know, desaturated shades, and it's like kind of warm on this side and cool on this side, but these shimmers are just so good. So I'm gonna hold on to it. The Sweet Escape, also so good. Some of these shimmers are just delish. I need to pull it out. I'm gonna keep it. I only have one Patrick Ta palette, and this is the Major Dimension 2. So it's like the pinky version. So I gotta open it with that fingernail that's off. I don't think I have any molding. I haven't had this like maybe as long as some other people. I haven't even dipped into these 2 deeper shades. This is a palette I need to bring back out. I'm gonna have to like rotate my palettes from my collection this year. Let's do Too Faced next. I wanna say I only have these 2. The Born This Way Sunset Stripped, and then the Mariali Amor Caliente palette. This was in, I think, collaboration with this person, right? Am I wrong in that? Haven't reached for this in so long. Do I even like it? Do I even want it? I literally don't even know because I haven't reached for it. I'm gonna keep it, I think. And the Born This Way Sunset Stripped. I don't know if I'm like overly impressed with the quality of Too Faced. Never really have been, even though a lot of people have. I think though I want to give both of these a shot again. I mean, that's like a lot of work I'm giving myself, but again, all of these I totally spent my own money on. So it's hard when I feel like, well, you could really love it. You don't even remember. All right, this one is I Love Sarah He. Dose of Colors. There was just something so beautiful about this palette, but there's really only 2 mattes in here. And so I don't know, you know, this sparkly black is like cool, and I really loved the quality of this. I haven't reached for it in so long. I don't think I need it. You know, if I'm gonna pair a shade like this, it's probably not gonna be like a sparkly black in the outer corner. It's probably just gonna be like a matte, and I don't need this as a companion palette. So that one I'm gonna pass along. Now all of my ABH ones, I'm not getting rid of them because because these are the ones that I really enjoyed and were new. There's two more over here, the Sultry and Mini. Sorry, the Soft Glam. I pared this down last year and I got rid of 3, I think. So the Soft Glam is gorgeous. It's a great like everyday. I think it's a little bit more desaturated, which there's a time and a place for that, I think. I don't think this is like the most amazing quality, but it's very wearable and very everyday. I do want to hold on to it. But Soft Glam 2, I loved even more because the Dreamer shade comes from Sultry, right? Yeah, the Dreamer shade comes from somewhere else. And I love that shade. I thought Dreamer came from Sultry, but I'm remembering it incorrectly. It comes from a different one. It's not in the large one. Yeah, the Dreamer one isn't in Soft Glam, the original. It's from something else. So anyway, I don't have it in another palette, so I like it. This one's my favorite, totally. Of all the ABH palettes that I have, even though there's only one shimmer because this Sultry one broke, which is literally a shame. It's such a shame because that would have been so beautiful. I might actually replace this because they still do think they sell this Soft Glam too. And then we have the Nouveau. Good. Haven't reached for it in a while. These are more colors that I'm reaching for because it has like some greens in it. Gonna keep it. Cosmos. A little desaturated, maybe a little bit out of place. You can go pretty deep with these shades over here, but it's kind of warm toned with the exception of this. And this one's a little bit out of place unless you pair it with dark matter. But it's newer and I liked the quality, so I'm gonna keep it. Fall Romance. Good, little bit grungy, actually really grungy. It's kind of all over the place, but haven't reached for it in a while. So don't have like extreme thoughts on what I think, except that like, what's this one gonna pair with, except that one, which actually looks a little bit hard panned. Okay, I just broke it up. It's not hard panned. So maybe these two shades would look good together, but this is kind of like a satin formula. Still want to keep it though. Okay, nails are literally just breaking left and right here. So I guess I'm gonna need to go and remedy that. And then this one is the Rose Metals palette. Like this one, this one is different. I think the shimmers here are just very different than these two. They're very consistent too, with the exception of like you have like one satin shade in the corner. Keeping and Sultry. So really of the older palettes, I only held on to Soft Glam 2, and then this one, which I believe I'm going to still. So not doing as well on this pile. I think we'll do good and then bad and then good and then bad again. All right, these ones from Tarte. Ooh, this one I think I would get rid of. Can I get rid of it? This is another one where it has sentimental value because I took it with me. I don't even want to say for what. I can't let it go. Holy smokes. I thought I was going to. I really, really did. It's a nice neutral palette and it was really good quality. Better than I think Tarte does in a lot of stuff. It's the Amazonian Clay Eyeshadow Palette in Gilded. It came with Gilded and another one. I ended up decluttering the other one, but I couldn't pass this one along because of its sentimental value. I traveled with it when my dad was passing. So, you know, I don't know. That's just what I think of when I see it. So I can't let it go. And then the Sweet Tart Cravings. You know, these ones from the Sugar Rush line are so freaking good and buttery. Like they're creamy, you guys. Creamy. They're like indie shadow shimmers. I'm not even kidding. It's a darker color story because it's like very shimmer heavy. I think the Sugar Rush line is way better from Tarte than some of the other ones. Like the Amazonian Clay, for example, it's fine, but I don't think it's as good as the Sugar Rush line. So I only ended up getting rid of 2. It's not great, but it's good. Still good, still good. Okay guys, this is the next stack. I've got some Melt, Sigma, MAC, Ace Beauté, some other not off brands, but like kind of one-offs. Let's just move it aside again. Let's start off with all these MACs. So these were from the Connect and Color series. They had some 6 pans and I think these were 12 pans. And this is just like a new version of packaging that's come out for them in the last 2 years. 2024 is when, or 2023 is when these came out. And this was a release from this year. Now I really liked all of these, but wasn't a fan of the one from this year that I picked up. So this one was Embedded in Burgundy, and I really liked this color story. These shimmers are nothing to write home about. They're not like super light reflecting, but they're very everyday. But the mattes in here performed well. So I really enjoyed this. I want to hold on to this one. This one I didn't enjoy quite as much because there's only one matte shade in here. Well, there's two, I guess. This one, but it doesn't do anything for me. So I don't think I'm going to hold on to this one. I don't have an attachment to it. It's the Rose Lens one. It's just not a pink I like to put in the outer corner. So I'm going to pass that along. This one was probably one of my favorites, the Future Flame. It was the first one that I tried. And these mattes were freaking amazing. It's warm. Something about it was just gorgeous. And again, these shimmers are really everyday shimmers. They're not like super light reflecting indie shadows, but you know, they're great for the office. So even though this was warm, the way that it came out on the eyes was just beautiful. So I'm gonna hold on to this one. This one was Encrypted Kryptonite, which cool toned, but kind of weird. You know, anytime there's like a super dark shimmer in a palette, I want the matte or whatever matte there is in here to be deeper than it, and it wasn't. But I would still like to give this kind of a go. Really, these are the only two like light shimmers. I'm not sure I want to get rid of this. I don't love extremely gray black looks, but they can be good. It's not my go-to. I almost feel like I want it to be like brown, you know, like something like this is like charcoaly and not necessarily what I reach for, but I would test that out and decide if I want to keep it before letting it go. And then this one is Bronze Influence, which is kind of weird because it has this green. I don't know. I don't love green with the coppers. Again, I would try this one to see if I liked it. So I'm going to hold on to it. And then Love Struck Luck is this one. Yes, from this year. And just not as good a quality as the other ones. Like this is so warm in the outer corner. I didn't love it. I don't think it performed as well as some of the other ones in here. Like even though these are like color stories that I'm not sure about, the performance of them was really good. This one just didn't knock my socks off. This one kind of hard panned right away. It's still kind of hard pan, but you can get something up. These two are like the ones that are a little bit more light reflecting. There's more to them than just like full satins. So I'm definitely going to pass this along. I did not enjoy it as much. All right, let's go through the two from Bobbi Brown that I have. These are limited edition releases, and that's how they come. Basically, the Luxe Eye and Cheek palette, that's all this one is. I don't know, this was like a lunar something. These are just fun. Like even though these are kind of like satin mattes or like baked matte shadows, I should say, they're just fun. Like everything about this sparkly shade is really pretty. These just perform really well for what they are. So I want to hold on to it. And then this one is one of my quads. It's so good. Like you can use this metal rose shade in the outer corner, and I love these baked weird glittery shades. They're just really fun. Do they create a lot of fallout? Yes, but they're still like sparkly and beautiful. And I know that Bobbi Brown brand repeats these shades a lot. Like you'll see limited edition collections where these come out on repeat. And so, you know, it's not always that they're unique, but I don't have them. So I enjoy it. And this was the Luxe Eyeshadow Quad. I mean, they literally just don't even like have a name. This was like Lunar New Year, or that one was, I can't remember, but I'm gonna hold on to it. And I only have two palettes from Melt. And I heard a lot of people say that they really didn't love this collection, the Bad Side Zodiac collection, but I thought these were both so good. It was crazy that I just didn't hear a lot of people say they enjoyed them like at all. And they said they weren't like the good Melt formula, but I thought these were so good. This is a lovely color story. If you guys have seen a lot of the palettes that I collect in the indie brand world, I keep a lot that are very similar color stories, the burgundies, the greens, the oranges, and then like a pop of neutrals. So that's a color story for me that makes sense, and I loved the formula. Same thing with this. Formula was so good, and I like this shade with this shade. So a lot of these just make sense to me. Formula was fabulous, so I'm holding on to both of them. This one's Air and Earth was the other one. I'm sure you guys saw that. I have two of the Lorac palettes. These are the Pro palettes rather, Fairy Tale Forest and Soleil. I have smaller Loracs in my collection, but these are the only two like larger ones that I have. The formula is just really good. These are very trusty shades. I don't know if this is a palette that like beats out other palettes that I now have in my collection, but again, without like testing it again, I wouldn't let this go because they just perform so well. It's a nice friendly travel palette too. Soleil is more warm toned and just super wearable, so that's gonna stay. All right, let's go through my Sigma palettes. I don't have a ton. I think these are it. I just have the 4 and they're all going to stay. I'm not gonna let any of them go. Rosy is the 9 pan. It's really pretty. I think Sigma shadows actually perform really well. The thing I noticed with Sigma shadows is they don't last as long as a lot of my other ones with set eyes, but the formulas are really good, in my personal opinion. I find that a lot of Sigma shadows though are more on the desaturated side. They're just lighter in tone. They don't always have the best pigmentation, but I never find any issue with like the quality. And then the Alice in Wonderland palette, I enjoy this because I think it was like one of the few times when this came out 2 years ago that Sigma went for like a teal or blue 6 pan over here, and then they went kind of back to their like warmer neutrals over here, which isn't like something I see them do a lot. The Little Mermaid had blues in it, which I think was a release last year, but anyway, I liked this. I thought the blues performed really well, and sometimes I have trouble with blues. Then these two, Corta Rosa, it used to be one of my favorites. Super warm, super pink. I don't know if you're looking for something like that, like these perform well. And then New Mod. Maybe New Mod was my favorite. Now I can't remember because it does have that like pop of brown, so you can get something way more wearable and neutral than like predominantly pink with this palette. So I'm gonna hold on to both of those. And I think this is the last one I have from Laura Lee Los Angeles, the Nudie number 2. I want to say I decluttered Nudie number 1 last time. I held on to this because I thought the performance is good. She really does a good job with the shimmers. It sounds like she's closing her Laura Lee Los Angeles brand down. I don't know much about it yet, but that is what I heard. I started to like watch a video and then I kind of saw a thumbnail that said she was closing down, but I'm going to hold on to this one because I enjoy it. It's also a really good travel palette. Now let's go through my Ace Beauté palettes. I am going to say, I don't always find like the formulas are immensely consistent. For example, the Mystic Romance was really good. I just thought that this was like really immensely better quality than some of these older ones. This was their release of 2023. I think this was like the last release they came out with, and this was so good. The formula of the shimmers was just a lot different, and I think you can see that. Let me show you the Flare palette, which is like a little bit older. The formula isn't as good in this. Like you just don't get as many like sparkly shades, I think. Here I am. There I am in the mirror. So this one here, the Mystic Romance, like I definitely enjoyed this one a lot more, and I like this color story too. I think it's really nice. Plus it goes really light to really dark, and you've got all different tones of shimmers and then some really deep mattes. So even with the darker shimmers, you can go dark. Like that's kind of what I'm always looking for. I find myself saying that a lot. So this one I want to hold on to. But the Flare palette, you know, it's a brighter color story, and even though I have a bunch of bright color stories in my collection, I didn't find this one to be fabulous. Like this is a blue that you can't, I don't think looks great if you did a green look. And I could see myself doing a green look, but I wouldn't pair it with this shimmer. I would do it with these ones. And then this one, I don't know, for some reason it just doesn't look good with those two shades. Like something about the way that this performed was not my favorite. So I am gonna pass that one along. Classical Paradise was the same thing. I didn't think this was as cohesive as I thought it was going to be. These two shades, actually, I'll be honest, 1, 2, 3 shades came out so similar on the eyes. These two are very similar in the pan, but then for whatever reason, this one looked just like that one when I got it to the eyes. And this is like a weird smoky gray tone. I just don't think looks great with some of the other shades. Like I see a look here and like, I don't know, there's something about it I just didn't love, so I'm gonna let it go. And then the Violet Sage was a little bit different because it was these big pans, and I think that this one was like a BoxyCharm exclusive. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. It was really good quality. It's the first palette that I had tried from Ace Beauté, and it's the reason that I wanted to pick up more because the quality of this was really good. But I have so many formulas that are better now, and I like this one so much more, and I would just like to see what else they do, that I don't feel like I need to hold on to this. Very similar color stories too, so I'm gonna let this one go as well. Here's one from Dominique Cosmetics, the Latte 2 palette. I wasn't blown away by this. I wasn't. And I'm thinking to myself, do I just need to keep one thing from Dominique Cosmetics? And I think the answer is no. I think that some of these are great and it's kind of a neutral palette overall, but this one right here, I don't know, it's out of place for this. And while you could probably do something really cute, if I was gonna grab for a color like this, I don't know, the quality wasn't as good as like some of my other shadows, so I'm gonna let it go. This one I've been holding on to for so long. It's from KVD Beauty, back when it was Kat Von D, I'm pretty sure. I'm sure this is like fully expired. It's the Edge of Reality eyeshadow palette. And I picked this up, I'm sure, at like a Marshall's or a Ross or something like that. It's actually really good quality. I wonder if this actually comes out, because it looks like it does, but I don't know. The shimmer formula is really good. These mattes are so good. Like, it's flat. Like, is it poured in there? I'm not even sure, but I never reach for it. Some of these mattes I haven't even touched, like you can tell. I've touched a lot of the shimmers. Like, I've definitely, looks like at least grabbed for one or two of the mattes and then, you know, a lot of the different shimmers, but I'm gonna let it go. I don't reach for it, and I don't talk about KVD enough to need to keep it. And then the 70s palette from Kara Beauty. Kara Beauty, I think, is an indie brand. I've got some leakage over here, but it's still a nice shade. I have a brand new palette that has leakage in it. I mean, it doesn't bother me, I guess, necessarily. Sometimes that just happens. Really good quality on this. All the shimmers are exactly the same. I don't feel like I need to keep it though. I really dislike like really tiny pans like this. I like Kara Beauty though. I've had other palettes from this brand before and they're all fairly consistent. And this one I kept over the other color stories because I thought it was just like, there was a lot going on here, a lot you could do with it. But I don't need it, so I'm gonna let it go. Then I have one from Lunar Beauty, the Nude Prism palette. I wanna say I had two. Did I get rid of the other one? I might have, I don't know. The shimmers are freaking fabulous in here. The mattes worked really well. It goes pretty light to pretty dark. I like the way that this is laid out. It's an all in all like nice neutral palette. So I'm gonna keep this one. And then my only Sydney Grace palette, it's the Be Mine palette, and this was the deep version. I just liked the way the deep version looked over the lighter version, and they weren't that different either. Only palette I have from the brand, so I'm gonna hold on to it because I definitely want to try more from the brand this year. I hope. I mean, you know, I don't need more, so there's that. But I am gonna hold on to this one. I got some fam coming up the stairs. All right, so from this stack, I ended up decluttering actually eight palettes from here. So I don't feel terrible that I got rid of 8. Doing good. Okay, guys, next up we have Natasha and we have Huda, and all of these are probably gonna stay. I think for the purposes of like collection, because I just feel like we're there with both of these brands. Like there's a lot of times that comparisons happen. I think even with me, with the golden palette, I probably like did like close-up swatches or something. I can't remember, but I just think that with both of these brands, that's where we're at, that they're very popular and their releases get quite a bit of hype. So I think channel wise, I'd want to keep all of them. I'm like breaking a rule, you know, I don't want to collect just to collect, but I feel like I'm doing that with Natasha because I definitely don't think I would keep, did I say that I didn't get the I Need a Nude palette? I meant the I Need a Warm. I did a ranking and I said I didn't pick up the I Need a Nude, but I meant the Warm palette and the Roxa palette. Anyway, if you saw that video and you're watching this, I did say that I didn't get this, but I guess I did. Okay, anyway, I wouldn't keep all of these. I wouldn't keep the Retro Glam because there's not a deep matte in here that I don't like. You know, we're doing this thing again where we're doing like deep shimmers and not a deep matte. There's deeper mattes than there are, I mean, deeper shimmers than there are mattes. Although I will say like the shimmer formula is really good and I like the matte formula in this palette because there's no creams, which I do not like. I'm just not a fan of like creams in my palette. Don't know why, I'm just that way. But I wouldn't keep it for that reason, but I'm going to. I Need a Nude. It was okay, but here's where we get inconsistencies with the shimmers, and your deep shade here is a cream. Like I just can't get these to build up when the deep shades are a cream like this. I don't like that. So I'm not a huge fan of the cream formula. I think some people do like it. I think you kind of like love it or hate it, but I don't. And honestly, these ones are kind of dry toppers. There's just, I don't know. Honestly, there's just not, like this one's okay, but this one, there's just not a lot going on with this. that's a not a me kind of shadow. I've dipped into this like really hard, essentially trying to wear it because it's a drier shade. And there's so many toppers in here. I don't think I'm a huge fan overall. Oh, and then this one here is a beautiful transition shade and it's also a cream. So not my favorite. I don't know. The palette's okay and the shimmers were fine. I want the creams gone. I just want the creams gone. I mean, honestly, that's my biggest pet peeve in all of these palettes. Cream, deepest shade, matte, cream. No, not for me. It's really not. And I don't love toppers. I guess one in a palette is okay, but I feel like a couple of these are toppers, like these two. And this one maybe is like kind of, I don't know. It's like a satin. This is also not a color story that I love. I totally got this to review it on my channel. This one, actually these three, these ones I would keep. Those three I would get rid of. The Yucca palette, oh, so good. So good. This even might be like a cream matte. No, I don't think it is. It's got a couple of creams in here. It's this one right here. And gosh, the Calathea shade I think is also a cream, which is not my favorite. Again, I'm telling you guys, it is my pet peeve, but the shimmers in here are really good. They're just better. There's no real toppers. They're all nice. They're different, like these two. They're almost like duochromes, but the other three are really beautiful. And there's a deep shade in here, like both departments. Wish this was a freaking not cream, just a powder, and that would have been great, but I don't know. This one was really good. I enjoyed that. The My Dream palette, I really like it because it's my dream. I mean, it's really good. Again, you've got a cream and Instinct and Edgy, and I didn't love them, but I don't know, they're just deep enough in pigment that they worked for the outer corner, and these shimmers are just really fire. So this one was good. You know, everyone says Natasha's like great, and I think it's good formula. Like, don't get me wrong, but there's definitely some indie brands that do better than Natasha in my opinion. But I like that color story. Then Retro, I really enjoy. You've got a cream in Rebellion and Go-Go, I'm pretty sure, that I don't love, but it's still good performing. I could tell I didn't touch some of these. Like that one I haven't touched. Like probably only that shade. Anyway, this is still nice, and I think I have used this in the outer corner, so that changes it for me. Then the last one is the Golden palette from this year that I also really do not care for. Again, you've got some like really hard pressed shimmers in here, and then your creams are your deepening shade, and then this one in Panna up here. So transition and a deeper shade are creams. I don't know. I don't love toppers. I'm telling you guys, they're just not enough for me. I don't know, by the time they get to the eyes, I guess that one's not a topper. It's just, some of these are, there you go. There's kind of a topper. They just have like sparkles and they just don't have enough base. And it's worse when it's on your eyes, because when you have hooded eyes, for me, I just feel like, you know, unless it's pretty pigmented and impactful, it's so muted. So like a topper like this barely even shows up. It's like 3 sparkles on my eyelid. That's how I feel about it. I honestly, I did not love that one. Now I have some minis, and then I have one of these BoxyCharm exclusives. So this one was weird right here, but it was the first time I think I tried the Natasha Denona formula, and because it was such a weird palette, I just thoroughly enjoyed it. And I would wear these shades all the time, but this one is like kind of a cream. No, it's a powder, but it's just such an interesting shade. So I would wear like these 2 shades and then this shimmer, or this one and then this shimmer. I don't know, something about it is just, it's really pretty. And like even 2 of these shimmers look really good together. I don't know why, but I just really like this palette. It's the Jubilee. So I think I'm gonna hold on to it. This was the one that came out this year. It was the My Mini Dream palette, which I have the full size, and this one is lacking what I think makes the My Mini Dream palette so unique, which is like these burgundy shades. Like this is like a primarily burgundy kind of orange color story, and they added in like these shades aren't even the same. Like the only one that comes from this palette is Nurture. This one and this one. All of these are different. I'm like 99% certain. Okay, now I'm 100% certain. I just went through them. This brown shade is called Loyalty. So I don't know where these come from or if these are unique shades, but this is the only shade that's the same. But these were so good. Like this is just a good everyday good palette. And I liked this one too, so not a shocker. I'm gonna hold on to it. Then I have the My Mini Retro palette. I don't know why I'm calling it My Mini. It's just the retro palette. And I don't have like, was there ever even a big retro palette? There's this one, which is the Retro Glam, but I don't remember. But anyway, very different shades. This performs better. I don't know. I like these little mini ones. If I'm being honest, sometimes I think the quality in these ones are better because there's never creams in them. Is that terrible that I'm like that? That I don't like the creams when everyone else seems to? This one's cool. It's got like a duochrome over here. Good quality. This one is the Mini Love, and I don't have the full size Love, so I do like it. It's pink and purple, but it performs well and there's no creams, and it makes sense because you have a deep shade in all of these. So for me, that just, I don't know, it makes sense and I like it. I'm so sorry. There's literally sparkles everywhere. It just looks terrible. All right, let's go over Huda. I've gotten rid of a lot of the smaller Huda palettes that I've had, but I've held on to all the big ones that I've had in my collection. There's one more over here that I'm hiding. Okay, so I have all of them except the very first one that she launched. I'm pretty sure these are it, right? Am I missing any? Oh, yes, I am. I am. One's on the floor. Hold on. Ta-da! Icy Nude. This one is from this year. I'm like so sad that she's not making these anymore. That's what she's announced because I thought that these were good. I guess I don't find myself loving them 100% anymore. Icy Nude didn't get ranked super high because there's weird glitters in here. Like that's a weird glitter. That's a full-on glitter. That's also a weird thing. This is kind of a wet PC topper shade. Can you even see that? It's sparkly, but it's sheer. It's translucent. I like everything else, but I only found myself really loving these two shimmers. Aurora and Platinum were so good. And I wore Aurora all on its own too. The mattes were fine. Some of them are very light and don't necessarily show up all that well, but they serve a purpose. I'd say these are probably the only ones that have like some similarities, but I see the differences. High Life and then Lavish are also pretty similar. So if like, honestly, if I'm going for a shade like that, cause I'm gonna lighten up a deeper color, I don't think it would matter which one I grabbed because I think they would look the same. But the shimmer formula is wild. It's wild. It's all over the place. I really only liked the two shimmers. So I'm going to hold on to it because it's brand new to me. Plus, I'm probably not going to declutter any of the Huda palettes in the bigger size. Then Empower. I liked it. I liked it. It's just, it's so warm and you've got like 3 shades here that come out super similarly. Some of these are like chunky, but I liked them. I probably only didn't like Charisma because it's like that weird pressed. You know what? Can we call it pressed glitter? This is definitely a pressed glitter. I think an Icy Nude was a loose glitter. And I would say that I really like the fact that she didn't put a loose glitter in here. I'm gonna call it loose glitter because they're so loose. Anyway, too many similarities in this corner, if you ask me. Like boom, 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 too similar. And then these 2 shades I also feel like are too similar too. And then this one's a cream, which is actually okay because you have similar shades that are powder if you wanted to use this for a liner. So I liked this more than the Icy Nude. Then the new nude from Huda, 2 glitters. Why? Why are we doing that? This is super desaturated palette. And then I think there's only 1 deep shade really. So I don't know if I love this one either. I think I have, but the smarter I get about eyeshadows, I know that this isn't like the best formulation. The shimmers are fine, like what they are. They're everyday, they're wearable, they're okay. The 2 pressed glitters are a no. But again, very, very desaturated side. Only 1 or 2 deepening shades. That's, I think, my only gripe with that. Rose Quartz. All right. This one I actually really do enjoy. I want to say Rose Quartz is probably my favorite. Honestly, I think I enjoy every one of these shimmers and there's not a single pressed glitter in here. This Lovestone, you know, everybody hates these weird shades that Huda does, but if you press super hard, these are little shimmer balls, which is cool because I've actually broken some. I want to say in this one, in the Naughty palette, and they're actually like really shimmery, even though it's like this weird gloss. It's like a sparkly gloss. I don't know. I think it's an underappreciated shade. I would rather this than a pressed glitter. But anyway, besides that, I think it performs pretty well. It's like slightly cool toned and then it's got some warm tones at the top. There's just, I don't know. This is probably got to be my favorite one from her. The Naughty palette is also really good. See, here's this one. the slippery ones. See how I've like broken some of the balls? They're like literal shadow under there. So if you actually dig it out, it's actually really cool. It does show up on the eyes. Anyway, no pressed glitters in here. This one is also a really good one. Very warm toned, but Icy Nude, Empowered. No, I feel like the quality has definitely gone down. All right, Mercury Retrograde, also a good one. I'm not gonna lie, these three, that's why everybody loved them so much, because they didn't come with these nasty pressed glitters and the color stories were cool. So this one is also a good one. I'm not gonna get rid of this one. And then Pretty Grunge. So it goes the Empower Palette, the Pretty Grunge, and the Icy Nude were the three newest releases. And I think this was really good. Probably the last good one. Even though it has like a liner shade here, it's fine. I think it's more of a liner shade, not a cream shadow. And I like the shimmers here. The way I looked at it, it was like one cool side and then one warm side is how I saw this. So I don't think it was supposed to be one or the other. I enjoyed this. I'm half and half on the Huda Big palettes, but I'm a full no on these. The two creamy, the greige, and then this one was the neutral browns. The neutral browns performed better than the greige because the greige shades just caved in. These two right here, you can't pick up a whole lot. Your finger just kind of goes through and they like dissipate. There's just not much to them. They're too creamy. These ones actually had some like real substance. Like you could actually, you know, pick up some colors when you touched these ones in here. I think I liked the shimmers probably better in this one, even though this one's like a little bit chunky. It's just more light reflecting. I don't honestly mind the shimmers in this one. It's just that I didn't enjoy like anything transition wise with these two shades. So I just overall, I think this one performed better than this one, but they both only last about 2 to 3 hours on my eyes. And I set them. There's even a set shade if you want to go ahead and set your eyes, but this set shade hard panned on me. So I just scraped a little bit of it. I didn't find the performance of these good and these palettes necessary. I'm going to pass these ones along. Actually, these are the only two that I am decluttering from this whole pile. So I did declutter something. All right, next up is my Pat McGrath collection. I don't have a large one. I don't know. I started the makeup game pretty late. And so I think by that time there was like only a few releases before it started to sound like, you know, the repeat in shades was coming along, you know, like a lot of pink color stories. So I only have 3 of the Mothership palettes, one Christmas release from 2022. No, 21? I don't know. This was several years ago. A couple of the quads and then this quint. I think this quint I traveled with very recently. I actually really do like it. For a smoky look, it is kind of like half neutral, half warm. It's pretty and it's like a very everyday and very wearable palette. What is this one called? It's the mini eyeshadow palette in Sublime Smoke. I think it's good, so I'm gonna hold on to that one. This quad here is in Venus in Flores Luxe Quad. It's the Voyeuristic Vixen. And I do like this one. I think that there's some fun shimmers in it. Like this one is really sparkly and it's like a duochrome. It's like gold to red. There you can see in the mirror that it's like a little bit gold. This one is pretty sparkly and then this one's just your like standard shimmer. So it's not super fun, but I do like this shade right here in the outer corner. So I'm gonna keep that one. And then this one is Passion Floor, is this one. Ooh, looks like some crumbly stuff happened. I like this one because of this shimmer, and that's pretty much it. This, I don't know, I thought I would like the purple matte in the outer corner a bit more than I ended up liking it. I think it's good for like a liner or something like that, but I don't typically do that. And I didn't love this purple with this kind of orangey red shimmer. I'm debating on not keeping this for like one single shimmer shade. I'm trying not to do swatches because I'm running out of like wet wipes. It's really pretty. Honestly, I don't think I'm gonna keep this one though. I hate to declutter my Pat McGrath stuff because it's usually pretty expensive, like even those quads, but I know I'm not gonna reach for it. This one I did really like because I do really like the matte shade in here and these shimmers are nice. They are not like special shades in any way, but they are a good formulation. This is the Celestial Nirvana in Nude Allure. I think I got this like at TJ Maxx or Marshalls or something, so I'm gonna hold on to this one. And then my 3, this one was the limited limited edition packaging. Motherships. This is Divine Rose 2. I don't have that many, so I've never felt like I'm inundated with pinks where a lot of people were. I will say though, all 3 of the motherships that I have are on the pink side. This one does have like a quad of special shades. Honestly, I don't think the mattes are the best matte formulation I've ever tried, but I think that they're good. This mothership is 9, Sunlit Seduction. So even though there are pinks, and this is not like the special Blitz Astral shades, I think is what they're called, they're really still foily and quite beautiful. Again, the mattes are like okay in here. I feel like I'm just buying for the special shades usually. And the packaging, that's pretty much it. Because I have this in other things. Certainly. So anyway, I'm gonna hold on to these bigger ones though. And then the final one that I have here is 7, Divine Rose. This is probably the first one I ever picked up and maybe the most different of the 3. Yeah, this is definitely the first one that I picked up because these are a little bit more like cool toned and not in the pink family. Again, I love this. This shade is just delish. It's like a fiery orangey red and it kind of flips. So holding on to that one. And then this Christmas release, oh my gosh, it was Mothership Mega Celestial Odyssey. I do believe this was like 2021. And even though there are no special shades in here, I still kind of like it because I think that the shimmers perform pretty well. It's heavy on the shimmers for sure. It's like a heavy shimmer palette. There is 4 mattes total, which isn't a lot, and they're pretty similar, like these 2 pinks. You kind of just get like a difference in undertone, but not depth at all, and 2 warm tone browns. So not my favorite color story overall, but it's a nice companion palette. Ouch, I'm gonna hold on to that one. So we only ended up getting rid of 1. I actually didn't think I was gonna get rid of any, so there you go. You guys, this is where it gets a little bit trickier because these are the start of my indie brand eyeshadows, and there's a bunch in here that I really do enjoy, and then we get to a point where I haven't even tried a ton. So I will show you all of those, and I'm trying to group these by brand, but there are some palettes from these brands that are here that I haven't tried yet. So we'll get to those and I'll just show you those so that you can see just like as a collection style. But these are the palettes that I have already tried. So I'll keep the ones that I haven't tried for the end. So there's gonna be some decluttering going on from like this section of the video, I guess. I have a bunch here, but I do have, I think 4 or 5 different brands total. These are the only 2 Lethal Cosmetics palettes that I have. They've come out with some recent color stories that are definitely interesting. I picked these up because they were pretty affordable when I wanted to try a like palette from Lethal Cosmetics. This is Memento. I think this one, gosh, they came as a pair, Destiny. And I mentioned not loving this formula. It was kind of powdery. The shimmers were a little bit light, I thought, and just not like impactful. Not what I was thinking of for an indie brand that does like duochromes and multichromes and things like that. So I have heard from you guys that these aren't their best quality and that I should try the larger palettes. So I'm probably going to pick up one of their new releases. I don't need it, but I do want to try the brand outside of like these ones. So this one I'm going to pass along. I'm also going to pass along its pair. They're pretty color stories. They're just very ashy shades. They're very powdery. There's just not a lot to them, not very pigmented. They don't last super long, so passing those along. Here's the 3 that I have from Glamlight. I have the Chucky collab from a couple of years ago. Probably 2023, I think. I like this. I love burgundies and deep shades, and I've done some really cool looks with this, and this black is like amazing. It's like the best deep black that I have. Like great for packing, great for smoking. There are some shades in here that I have not used, like these 2 over here, but I love me a deep, dark, grungy color story. There's a purpose for this and to me. And then the Strawberry Shortcake Berrylicious palette. The shimmers here are fabulous. They're fantastic. And I think I've held on to it for the shimmers because some of these are just too pink. I'm just not reaching for super brights anymore. I like the greens in here. This one's a toss-up for me because while it's not a color story, I think holistically that I absolutely love. It's a really good shimmer formula. Well, it's a really good formula, period, from Glamlight. Actually, I've never really had a bad formula from Glamlight. Yeah, because I'm on the fence, it's a couple of this, it's actually this whole green row that's got me like really questioning it. This one's really pretty, but you can kind of see like there was an overspray, like a blue overspray, and the shimmer is really pretty. So is that one, because it's like a fiery shade. I don't know. There's a lot of like redeeming qualities in this palette, so I'm gonna hold on to it for now. And then the Michaela X Glamlight, again, it's a really good formulation, and there's a lot of colors in here, and there are some shades I have not even touched in this palette, which I try to touch all the shimmers if I can. It's got like one neutral row, and the rest is kind of it's not really a rainbow palette because you're lacking like the reds, but I don't know. I'm gonna pass this one along. I do not need it, and it does leak everywhere. Like this broke on me, and so what is in here I've tried to get rid of, but it does get all over. So anyway, I don't know, it's just kind of annoying. I like Glamlight, but I don't need a palette like this, and I really don't love palettes like this size. I'll tolerate them. I don't love them. They gotta knock my socks off, I think. So I'm gonna pass that one along. These are from one of my favorite brands, and I don't know what's going on with them, Unique Beauty. I think when I first started getting into any eyeshadows, they were releasing like quite a bit, because these were new releases in 2023. But their shop went away, and then they were selling like on Instagram under something else, and then they just didn't have any more stock. I don't know, but I won't get rid of these. So this one is, oh my gosh, I think this one is like the Africa 1 palette. Oh, these are just so good. The shimmers are fabulous. They're always different. The mattes are great. You can tell these are like hand pressed or poured shades because they're different heights, but the formula was so good, and I did not hear enough people talk about this brand. They are out of the UK, I'm pretty sure. Unique is spelled like this. Unique Beauty with an E. Anyway, these are fabulous. These were some of my favorites in 2023, so I'm holding on to that one. I'm holding on to all of these, so let me put them here. Me, Myself, and I was this one. Oh my gosh, so good. Not the most cohesive color story when it comes to like this shade right here, but you compare these two to, oh, so good. I want to pull these back out. I don't want these to go bad. This was, I think, China Volume 1. Oh, delish. Delish. Look at these shimmers, you guys. They're fabulous. They're some of the best in my whole collection. I'm not kidding. This is the Tribes one. Arguably super warm and probably my least favorite, but the shimmers are still good. I had some like break on me, these three right here, but that happens in shipment sometimes. And then the Pamper Me palette. Yeah, this is the least favorite of mine in my collection because of the shade. I don't know. The blue just doesn't go with anything else. Like, it's cool, you know? It's a weird color story. I didn't find it really useful in the mattes department, but I'm still holding on to it. I'm still holding on to it. I'm like slurring my words, you guys. Woo! All right, Everyday Diva. Very warm color story. Again, it's just that these mattes and these shimmers are both really outstanding. And this is like a flat duochrome. Oh, it's like red to orange. Let me see if I can show you guys in like the mirror. It's hard because this shade is so inset. Anyway, really warm color story, but it's just beautiful shades overall, and they perform so well. Holding on to that. Glow Up is the next one. Also very warm. But, ooh, look at this shimmer. Delish. Can still use it as like a companion palette. There's no deepening shade in this, but I wouldn't trade it or get rid of it just because the shimmers are so fabulous. And then It's Giving Main Character is an all shimmer palette. A delicious. So good. So those stay. And then here I have my remaining Kaleidos. I have decluttered some last year, 1 or 2, I think. The Escape Pod palette. I wanted this palette for so long and I was really underwhelmed by it. These shimmers are just not even the best from Kaleidos, and I'm just not really into like the super bright color story, to be honest. Like, I don't find it massively cohesive because you don't have 2 different depths of a shade outside of like orange and then purple. I don't know. I didn't love this and I didn't love the quality, so I'm gonna let it go. Then I have 3 of these, the Futurism palettes. This one is 7, Sashimi City, and I really enjoyed the shimmers and the mattes in here, but this is delicious. I think I still want to hold on to this. I did declutter 1 or 2 of these ones last year. This one I really like for some of the shimmers. Yeah, these 2 shimmers were fabulous. It's just funky, but it works. Like, it's kind of a really interesting but cool out there palette for me. I'm still gonna hold on to it. And then this last one is Futurism 3 Astro Pink. Also pretty good. Not an immensely cohesive color story for me because this black is like a sparkly one, but pairing these two would look good. Let's see, these two are fabulous together. If you wanted to do a neutral look with this shimmer right here, like there's things you can do with this, even though a lot of times I do wish when they throw in a black matte that it doesn't have sparkles in it, that it's just like truly, truly matte. But I'm gonna hold on to both of those. All right, let's go into the Beauty Bay palettes that I have. I only have two. I have the Dark Fantasy that came out 2022 probably. The formula in this is just so good. This was the first Beauty Bay palette that I tried and I was like, whoa, I need to like keep buying their new releases. They're so good. I was really enjoying it. Mattes I think performed really well. I like a deep color story like this. Like sometimes I just love to get super grungy. I've created a lot of grungy looks on my palettes. I think I gravitate towards like darker looks. So when I got this and I loved the quality, when this came out, the Reckless Romance, which was this year for Valentine's Day, I'm pretty sure. So like earlier in the year, well, not this year. Sorry, 2024. It is 2025. I'm stuck there. But some of the shimmers here were just not as good. They were a lot drier. And then some of these grays came out very similarly. I will say though, the pinker shades in the palette, the mauve shades, they're so good. They're a lot creamier than the grays and the black down here. I don't know, for whatever reason they just are. So I don't think that this was their best formulation. I think this was so much better. But I am gonna hold on to both of them because I love this top section so much and I don't have a huge Beauty Bay collection. So those two are going to stay. Let's go through the Bella Beauty bar palettes that I have out and that I have tried. This is it. I think I've only tried these, but I have one or two more still that I haven't tried. So Molten Chromes came out this year. It was an all shimmer palette. It's fine. You know, it was like $60 or something like that. And I did mention in my ranking video that I didn't fall in love with every one of these shimmers. I have to say, I think it's Heat, Melt, you know, it's like these two I didn't love. They weren't super unique to me, where these ones were really pretty. But I kind of go back and forth. Like one of these, I can't remember which one, is just not that unique when it gets to the eyes, but it looks pretty in the pan. Anyway, I just wasn't like a huge fan of these two or something along those lines. Actually, I think Bake is pretty. Anyway, I cannot remember clearly. It's late in the day for me in filming this. Yeah, I didn't love every single one of the shimmers. So at some point I may decide to get rid of this, but it's new. Actually, I take that back. If I did, I would pluck out the shades that I really did like and put them in like a magnetic single palette. That's what I would do. I'd just not keep this. It's long too, and it's kind of like, I don't know, bulky. Anyway, holding on to that. Strange and Unusual. I think these are still available. I mean, this one and this one here. I wish this Atom shade was like a fully black matte. It again has sparkles, but a lot less intense than the one from Beauty Bay. I really enjoy this. I just struggle with some of the shades. Like it's a heavy shimmer palette. And so when I'm going for it, I'm either bringing in another matte if I'm trying to make it like super wearable, or if I'm going super vibrant, it's basically I will take one of the mattes in like the outer corner and then use just that and smoke it inward with a shimmer. Anyway, it's a little bit of a more difficult color story for me, you know, to reach for every single day, but it's fabulous quality. And then here is Basic Witch. More mattes in here, so I liked this one a little bit better than the Strange and Unusual. There's just variety here with the shimmers. I literally never get bored with the shimmers from Bella Beauty Bar. And the mattes are also really good. This was probably one of my top 2 favorites of 2023. This is the Star-Crossed Lovers from Bella Beauty Bar. I do have some like leaking in the Star-Crossed shade. It's just a super wearable palette, but it has so much going for it. The soft multi-chromes here, the chunky duochromes and multi-chromes, and then just the regular kind of metallic shimmers. So good, so good. All right, here are the Gourmand Girls palettes that I have tried. Actually, this might be my whole Gourmand Girls collection. I think these are really good. I actually might declutter one of these though. This is the Haunted palette in collaboration with Doodles by the Bunny. I really enjoyed this. Again, I like the grungier color stories. So you get something that's a little bit brighter on one side and more grungy on the other side. The shimmers were really good. They pack well, they blend well. There's more than meets the eye with this palette. It looks okay, but it performs great. So I'm holding on to that one. I think I'll just let the box go. I like holding, not the box, I like holding onto the sleeves just cause, but I don't need to do that. It just makes them so hard to get into. All right, Silent Night is also in collaboration collaboration with Doodles by the Bunny. Again, more than meets the eye with this. You know, even though you have two shimmers that look very similar, I feel like they swatch very different. Like one's almost purple and then one is blue. And even though these two shades are super similar matte shades, they're not the same. And what I said in my video testing this palette was that they don't pull close enough when you actually get them swatched into the eyes that I want to complain. So you get a lighter color story side and a darker color story side. Like these ones are such good quality from Gourmand Girls. And then here is in collaboration with Saria Soto. It's Warriors Wear Pink. You know, I didn't absolutely love this palette. I'm just gonna say, I think I will ignore it because even though the quality is really good, these pink tones, they just come out super different. What I mean by that is this Amour shade comes out like this super bright pink on my eyes. These two shades are pretty useless for me. Yeah, I don't know. It wasn't the color story of my dreams. I think it has deepening shades and it definitely goes light to dark and you've got a translucent, and I think the blue pairing it with the black is nice. Like it's decent quality. It's just, I could keep it and probably really like it if I kept using it. But I look at it and I go, man, I get so intimidated because I know the shades pull differently on my eyes. Like even this brown doesn't pull super brown. I don't know, like it gets lighter when I apply it. It's just, it's not my preferred formula. I think these ones are. So I'm actually going to pass that one along. And then Radioactive is an all shimmer palette. I'm going to hold on to this one. There's literally nothing wrong with it. Different formulations in here. You got some ones that are sparkly gold. You've got some chunkier duochromes in here. And then there's a few softer ones too. Like this is good. Maybe not my favorite all shimmer palette because it's heavy blues and pinks. There's like a lot more, I think, mid and deep tone shimmers in here. Like there's 4 total that are on the lighter side and the rest are like pretty mid-tone and deep. I think this even like is a black base. It's purple to me, but it shows green to you guys. Anyway, I think that's why it's maybe not my favorite all shimmer palette, but it is darn good. So from this section, I actually did get rid of more than I thought I was going to. I got rid of 5. And that feels good to me. I have such a hard time letting go of, especially indie brand shadows, and because I just picked this one up recently. But I am trying to be realistic. If I kept this, I wouldn't reach for it. I just know I wouldn't. And I held on to these just to have Lethal Cosmetics last year. Same thing with Kaleidos. I think that I wanted this palette for so long that I held on to it, but I just know that this is not my favorite formula over all the other stuff I'm looking at on the table. It just didn't perform better than the other ones. And I don't reach for palettes this size that often. I think it's good quality, don't get me wrong. I don't know, just it's not my favorite. Like I would rather go for a palette, I don't know. I'm not obsessed with Michaela, so I can let it go. Okay, here again, I have more palettes from these brands. I think each of them probably, except maybe Unearthly, that I haven't tried yet. Oh, I think Odin's Eye. I don't have any more that I haven't tried. But each one of these, I feel like I have other palettes from the brands that I will go over with you guys at the end. These are just the ones that I have tried. So I don't think there's going to be any decluttering here. I've got Odin's Eye, Adept, Glaminatrix, Unearthly Cosmetics, and a little stack here of Ensley Rain, which I definitely have more of. So let's go over the Glaminatrix. I think this is all I have from Glaminatrix. I love Glaminatrix. I'm surprised I don't have more palettes from this brand because I enjoy them so much. This was the Mini Nocturnal that actually came out in 2024. So good. Ranked super high because this is again one of those palettes that I just feel like there's more here than meets the eye. The performance was fabulous. The shades just really work well together. And I feel like there's a matching shimmer to every matte in here. So performance was good. Color story worked better than I thought it would. And yeah, I think that the formulation of these is just really amazing. So that one stays. Sugar and Spice was from 2023. Probably one of my higher ranking palettes, if not like my #1 palette. The formulation is fabulous. And even though this seems like kind of a weird, very sporadic, bright pastels with this kind of weird row, like neutrally row in the middle, you go super light to super dark. Whatever reason, it worked for me, or I made it work. I don't know. It made a lot more sense and the quality was great. That's kind of how I feel about each of my Glaminatrix palettes. Nearly Neutral had to be like one of my favorite. It's got burgundies and greens, a lot of sparkly shimmers, like super wearable, and the quality was great. So these 3 are definitely staying. Let's go over Odin's Eye next. I don't think anything's gonna go. I mean, it could though. So I have the 3 from the collaborations from last year. This one was from Betty Jean, the Planet Spirit palette. I'm gonna be honest, I really like Betty Jean. Like, she gives off really sweet vibes. I'm really debating on this one. It's a brighter color story, but that doesn't mean anything. Like, I will rock a brighter look. Like, don't get me wrong. I think I do want to hold on to this one, actually. I was thinking about getting rid of it. The Sea Talk palette from Lauren May Beauty. Ooh, I'm really debating this. This one is a harder color story to work with for sure. It's a little all over the place for me. Although it's like the whole neutral quad over here I didn't even touch. Like, I can tell I haven't touched these 2 shimmers, and it's so funny because it's totally what I would reach for now. It looks like I was playing in, I don't know, the pink and the teal. So I think until I try this quad that is quite wearable, I don't want to discount it. So I'm going to hold on to it. The Flora Story palette from Makeup Just for Fun. This was probably my favorite of the 3, but I don't know if I'd say that now. I think my preferences have changed for sure. I really don't like deepening with a super purple, like super deep purple in the outer corner. And all these other ones are like super desaturated. So like every look you do, if you want to deepen the outer corner, I feel like is going to end up being this purple, and it's just not my favorite. But I think if you take this out, it's like a super wearable palette, like every day and very forest-like. I don't know how else to say it. So I think I'm going to hold on to all 3 of these. I would like to play with these a little bit more. And then this one is my favorite collaboration with Annette. What is this called? The Mighty Monster palette. So sorry. This one came out 2024, I'm pretty sure. While there's like some inconsistencies with some of the shimmers, like this is super weird and chunky and kind of dry, I do think like overall it's really good quality. Sometimes with Odin's Eye, I definitely find a hit or miss with the shimmer formula where I don't know if a lot of people feel that way, but I do personally. They're just not all the same and sometimes they're not great. But I think this is good. It's a little bit of a bright color story for me, but it makes sense, you know? Like pairing these 2 with this one or these 2 with this one and all 3 of these together, these 3 together. The purple looks good with this shade. So it makes sense. It totally does. There's nothing out of place here. It's just brighter than I would normally reach for, but I like Annette. I do like this overall. I am going to hold on to it. The Jewels and Gem palette. Good, but haven't played with it enough. At the time when I got this, I was not into cool tones, and this is primarily a cool tone palette, but I would say that this has those kind of inconsistent shimmers for me. They're just chunky, but I don't feel like, I don't want to swatch it, but I don't feel like they have enough oils in them. See, they just look a little bit dry, and they're kind of like toppers. That is not my favorite. See how they just like fall apart? I don't know. They to me just seem really dry and they're breaking, and that's what I mean by like I get an inconsistency with Odin's Eye shimmers. This one too, but it looks definitely more creamy. But all that to say, I'm so much more into cool tones. I would definitely reach for this more now than when I got it. I am gonna hold on to it. As you guys can see, I don't buy every new release from every single brand. I do try and be selective, and I've tried to try so many different brands. That's the thing that has held me back from like buying new releases. Was this was like the first year that I ended up, well, last year I guess in 2024 was like the first year that I really got into indie brands. So I was diversifying instead of just like buying all of the new releases. But I try not to do that either, like just for collections' sake. All right, the Hella with Angelica. This one wasn't my favorite either because it's that purple that you deepen with. It's like these 2 shades are like the deepening shades for me personally. But like when it's this color, it has to be just right. I remember this being a little bit too purple when it buffed out. Ooh, God, you guys, look how rich that is. Hello. Am I easy if I say that's all it took for me to keep the palette? I'm definitely leaning on like, oh, let's keep it and play with it some more. So that's what I'm gonna do. I mean, I'm just giving myself a to-do list I really can't achieve. I have the Merry Christmas palette. This was one of my favorite. Actually, this might have ranked my favorite in 2023. This was so freaking good. Like everybody loved this first collection that came out, like the 2 that came out this year, that year. I haven't used these 2 shimmers, but I have used everything else. I don't know. I love this. The quality of this was so good. And I loved the tones of the deep shades. like the deepening shades. They were so freaking good. Every look I've created with this palette has been better than I thought it was gonna be. So I'm gonna hold on to that one. I know I haven't decluttered anything yet. I'm probably not going to, actually. All right, I only have 3 Adept palettes that I have tried. I have the Heather Austin collab, which the more I get into indie shadows, the more I really appreciate this palette. I think originally I was kind of like, the mattes, they're just okay. I don't think Adept excels in the matte formulas. I do find that I get some patchiness with them sometimes, but I think here, Heather was thinking of like transition, outer corner, I think when she put these 4 mattes in here. And I just feel like they make sense. And this is a really stunning, very reflective shimmer formula. So I'm definitely keeping that. It is my favorite Adept palette that I've tried so far. The Ninhydrin is good, but the mattes are like, in my opinion, just way out of place. This is okay with like this shade or the shade, but then I wouldn't take this really dirty swampy green to pair it with any of the other shimmers. Maybe this one because it shifts a little bit green, but I don't know, I don't love it with it. And then you have this like purpley taupe shade to pair with everything else. I don't know. They're companion palettes. So if you're gonna throw mattes in, I just feel like the mattes have to make sense. And I don't feel like that with this palette, but that's just me personally. And then the Flying Fiddles palette was their attempt at going like neutral for 2024, I'm pretty sure. And I think it was really good. It is these 2 shades right here. At the bottom, they are patchy for me. They always have been. These 2 are fabulous. They're not patchy at all. They're very beautiful. I like the color story. This is kind of like a different shimmer formulation than these 2 over here. A lot of these are just softer. They're not really foily shimmer shades. So anyway, I think if you didn't like the super chunky Adept formula, then this one would be a good one to try. I'm holding on to it. The 2 that I have from Ensley Rain, guys, I literally just watched the drama last night about Ensley. Well, I should say the update on what took place that has caused the drama about Ensley Rain. Anyway, I'm not like decided yet because I'm not educated enough, but I can see why people are upset. I wonder how they'll respond to it. So far, I feel like they haven't. Well, at least from what I saw last night, so who knows? And it'd probably take me a while to edit this video too. I loved the Flutter palette. I have kind of said things that have upset me about Ensley Rain and how I was like rejected from the affiliate program originally. And not that it just hurt my feelings that I felt that it was like super unprofessional. Just unprofessional. I don't know. I don't know how you function as an independent brand if you are not professional and kind to others. I just don't see this going like a great way for Ensley Rain. I don't know. They make a stunning formula and I really liked this palette. So you guys saw the color story. I'm going to leave it at that. Cold Moon is good. It is the cool toned large version. I mean, there's some great stuff going on in here. So I'm going to hold on to these for now. And then my Unearthly palettes, I think this is it. I do not think I have another palette that I haven't tried from them yet, but I could be wrong. Fall Magic, really good. Grungy, makes sense. Every matte is paired with a shimmer below it. Good, good, good. Don't be jelly. This is funky, but it worked. And I really enjoy some of these shimmer formulas, like way more than, not shimmer formulas, colors, than I do the mattes in here. So I find a use for this. Maybe more as a companion palette, but I still think it's good. Spring Magic. This one is a little bit less exciting than something like this, I think. Sorry, I'm giving you the mirror because I think the shimmer formula is like slightly different, but you've got some duochromes or 3 multichromes in here. It wasn't my favorite, but the mattes, stellar, stellar. The blues, some of the best blues. I keep saying that every time I talk about this palette. This was my favorite from Unearthly, both in color story and performance. Some of the burgundy shades and deep greens, even blues for that matter, I struggle with. Like, not every shade is created equally in the mattes department from indie brands, and they can get more patchy than other shades, you know, like blacks, for example, or like a dark brown. I just find blues, greens, and these burgundy shades, not even just red, like the more brown in a red shade, I guess, tends to get a little bit patchy for me. Anyway, this was the best performing unearthly palette that I have in my collection. I'm definitely holding on to that. This one is the Sleepover palette. This was the first palette that I got, so I shouldn't say I was lusting over it, but I think I kind of was, because at the time when I got this, I was way more into pinks and purples. I'm just pretty much avoiding those shades like on an everyday basis. I'll still create looks like that, but I'm not grabbing for them all the time. So I'm hesitant to like let this go, but I almost think that I want to because it's the least interesting. I don't like the way that these pull on the eyes are too bright for me. Let me swatch them. Yeah, see, it's like a satin. I don't know. This is not my favorite formula. I'm gonna let it go. I'm gonna pass it along. All right, I'm trying to get this center, but it doesn't matter because I'm gonna move them in a second anyway. So I've got some like one-off palettes here, although some of these I do have other palettes from them. I just haven't tried them yet. So I'll just move these aside because the stuff on the left here, I actually have more than one. So I have the Arthurine palette from Menagerie. I'm on the fence about this one because I did say that this is like a really deep shimmer that I don't feel like you have a use for if you don't use it as a single shadow, because this isn't deeper than that for deepening. So you could use this just by itself, which is something that I did. It's a little bit on the desaturated side, but I didn't have any performance issues. I think I'm gonna keep giving it a go though, so I'm gonna hold on to it. And the Killer Purr palette from Menagerie, I found patchiness in these two shades right here, but these shimmers were so good. Like especially this one, it's so unique. I feel like in my collection in texture and shade and shift. So I still want to hold on to this one, give it one last go. This one from Clarity Cosmetics is the Bloom palette. I did not speak very highly of this. This shade is like sandy. It's falling apart. It's not just because it's a loose shimmer. When I say sand, I genuinely mean it like crumbles like sand. It's in pieces when you swatch it. No good comes of it at all. I got hard panning in, I don't know, this shade. There it is. This shade right here. I've like scraped it a little bit. Patchiness in a lot of these. I don't know. I don't think I'm a fan of the Clarity Cosmetics formula. So I am going to pass this along. The Deadly Rose palette was one that came out this year. This is genuinely like sand. So is this one. And it fell out of the pan. Just fell. Like floop. It didn't even crumble. It just like poured out like water. So these have no oils in it. They're not like your standard shimmer formula. As you can see, it's like everywhere. It's so weird. It's so weird. Their formulations is so weird. I'm gonna get rid of that one. And then It's Belle Cosmetics is closed down, and I think they're gonna stay closed down for good. I don't know, but this is the Pixie Grove palette, one of my favorite fall themed palettes in my collection. I will not get rid of this. This is fabulous. The Cool Summer palette from It's Belle Cosmetics though is on the brighter side, and I didn't love how bright some of my looks were coming out. I shouldn't say that because it's like, that's the color story. So what did you expect was gonna happen? But this is a black based shimmer, which could be good like all on its own. I didn't love it with this one or this one. It's just when the shimmer is like a deep tone shimmer, I want like a super deep matte. That's just my personal preference. And I didn't like the way that my looks were coming out every time I was like using the pinks. I have other shades that are similar in color stories that I find more cohesive. So I'm gonna pass this one along. I have one from Nomad here, but I have two others. This was the Ghost Town USA. I thought it was okay. I don't know. Nomad gets a lot of hype, you guys, but I found like overspray in a lot of these shimmer shades. Like you can see how sparkly they are, and then like kind of once you touch them, they're not as sparkly. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying that it's not the best formulation that I've tried, and the overspray was a little bit funky given that every single one of the shimmers is the exact same formula. So I think it's good, and I wouldn't declutter this just yet, but I think I still want to get my mind wrapped around the Nomad formula. So I'm gonna hold on to this. The Gloss Gods formula is so good though. I traveled with this. It's Let's Get Nude palette, sorry. Oh, the shimmers here are so freaking good. I was wearing a lot of these shimmers like all by themselves. I just had a super fun time with this palette. There's a lot of differences here. Like this is like a pinky multi-chrome. This one's like, oh my gosh, it's coppery gold. I don't know if it like necessarily is flipping for you on camera, but it's so beautiful in the eyes. And these ones are like beautiful sparkly shades. I love this. One of my favorite palettes this year. And then Shine by SD, this is the Mean Greens. These are nice. These are very sparkly shades. So you have to like that. This I was wearing as like a single kind of one and done green look. I'm gonna hold on to it. I think I have one or two other palettes from Notoriously Morbid right now. Rusted Essence, guys, I was not a fan of this, not a fan. Weird, crumbly, dry, satins. These just fall apart in the pan. These are like ashy, powdery shades. I wasn't a fan of this formula. It's not my personal preference, so I'm passing that along. The Pastel Roses, the Floral Temptation. You know, I didn't love this either. The performance of this wasn't fabulous. Ugh, these are falling apart. I mean, I get it when they're like hand-pressed shades, that's gonna happen, but I felt like this was just more on the desaturated side, and while these shimmers are very pretty, I have these. So if it's like a saturated, more ethereal color story, I'm not reaching for this palette. I have other ones that I would rather reach for. Although looking at it again makes me want to keep it. It's really pretty, like bouquet, so beautiful. Temptation and Melody would be great shades just by themselves. The color story is great. The performance wasn't fabulous. So I know the Pastel Roses actually had like a new release come out just recently, and that's like the only one I've seen them come out with since this palette in 2023, I think. But I didn't get it because I didn't enjoy the performance of this. I'm gonna pass that along. I have one Danessa Myricks. It's the Lightwork Volume 5 palette. I need to use this more. I don't even know if I have my thoughts wrapped around this. Like, it's good. It's obviously a companion palette, and they're supposed to be a bunch of different formulas. If you guys can see, these are all like different. I've used this palette like 4 or 5 times, and that's it. So this for sure stays, and I would love to test it more. One of my favorite palettes this year, St. Angel Sinners Reckless, and it was from Calvin Brockingham Artistry. Oh, Brockington, pardon me. But the quality of this was just so good. It's a wild color story with weird placement, and one half is all matte, but it just worked for me, like in terms of quality. So I don't know any drama surrounding the brand, but one of you did mention something happened a few years ago. Fantasy Cosmetica Druid. I'm a fan of Fantasy Cosmetica. The formula seems pretty similar. You've got like 2 different types, like a softer, more oily duochrome, and then some very like soft, I would say, very soft, very buttery metallic formulas, and the mattes are, oof, they're so good. So I think I have one more from Fantasy Cosmetica that I am going to try in 2025. Kryptine Cosmetics, guys, Burnt Forest, one of my favorite palettes this year. So delicious, so good. Better than meets the eye in terms of like the performance of it. Light to dark. You've got a shimmer to every matte. Yes, please. Oh, and packaging, so good. And Kryptine Cosmetics is a C Beauty brand. This was their very first palette, and I think they've had 2 more releases since then. I have one of them, so I still have to try it. And then KARIM Cosmetics. I did forget to mention, you guys, I do have some like discount codes because I'm affiliated with some of these brands. So like if you're interested, check my description box just for the heck of it. Skulls and Roses is from KARIM Cosmetics. This is so good. It's delicious and buttery, and it's a deeper, grungier color story, but oh my gosh, if you like deeper, grungier color stories, how could you not like this? I would say that a lot of these foily shades and these super sparkly ones like Dazzle, they're harder to deal with because there's like a lot of fallout, but they're still so good. So good. So I have another one from KARIM Cosmetics I haven't tried yet. And then Artitude Cosmetics, same thing. I got another palette from them. This one was the Obsession. Oh my gosh. Hello Fall palette. Yes, so good. The formulation is just really fabulous. So I'm really excited to try the Metamorphosis palette, I think, that came out recently that I just picked up. I cannot remember, but we will go over it in a minute. This palette ranked number 1 for me this year. This was the Ultimate Cappuccino palette from DD Signature. It was just a neutral color story, but also like a fall color story, and also I could get grungy with it because of this is really nice deep color and hot chocolate. Leafy tea was nice in the outer corner, and I think the reason that I just loved it the most is because it's like a really nice sized palette with neutrals and pops of color that were flattering together, but these shimmers were stunning. Pumpkin Spice is like this pinky gold, and this is like a fiery red, and Americano Latte is like very sparkly shade, and then Caramel French Toast is a blue to green duochrome. I think it's a duochrome and not a multichrome. Anyway, it was just so good. It ranked number 1, and then she pulled my palette ranking like snippet and posted it on Instagram. So anyway, I picked up one of her new releases that was available for pre-order, and then I had another one in my collection, the Winter Wonderland, I want to say, that I still have not tried, but this was so good. It's underrated. I think Dee Dee Signature reformulated, and when she did, I just feel like she did it right. Girl came back like a boss, you know? Okay. All right, Cosmic Brushes or Cosmic Beauty. I don't know where they're going with this. This is the Muse palette. I have mentioned that I had some patchiness with some of them, and then the shimmers were a little bit inconsistent. Some of them were on the drier side, but I'm trying this palette again. I pulled it out pretty recently, and I did like the look I created, but the best thing about this palette, aside from the color story, is the price point. I have 2 more palettes to try from Cosmic Brushes, so we'll see. We'll see where it goes. I don't think I was like immediately blown away by the quality of this like I wanted to be, but we're still wrapping our minds around it. Trying one palette isn't always the final measure of success, I think. So from here, we actually ended up getting rid of 5 palettes. Was it 5? Yes, it is 5. I don't feel terrible about that. It's so hard for me to get rid of anything, so we'll do a final count at the end. I am feeling good about it though. All right, you guys, we're back. It's actually been several days later. It's taken me a while to film this. I started back at a new job. It's been crazy. I haven't had any chance to film in the evenings, but what I want to finish up is this set of palettes here, which is, I think there's some in this stack over here where I have like more than one brand or more than one palette from a brand, and then over here is all just like one-offs. And then I want to go through the small palettes, and then I want to show you guys the stuff that I haven't even tried yet. So I think we'll go through the one-offs first. This first one is Sea Beauty. This one is from Shall We Makeup. I'm holding it upside down. It's the Somber Garden palette. I thought this was really good quality. I've had like hit and misses with Sea Beauty so far. This one over here is also Sea Beauty, and some of the shades are really good for packing, but they're not the greatest at blending. This one I find works for both, and I just love these shimmers. They're such a beautiful formula, like every single one of them, and you get different textures in here too, and then you get light, mid-tone, and the black base shimmer here. So I think there's just variety. This one is the mini version of the Somber Garden, so they do sell this in like the full size with like the circular pans. This is one of the newest palettes to me, so I'm definitely gonna hold on to this one. And then this one right here is Sugar Rock. So also Sea Beauty, I'm pretty sure. It's the Extravaganza palette. I kept this little thing in here because it was honestly pretty cool looking. So this is what I mean by a lot of these mattes are very thin and they pack really well. They just don't blend the greatest, but the shimmer formula is just so freaking good in these. If you can see, like, you got some multi-chromes in here and then some chunky stuff and then some things that are a little bit thinner. So I like this because for now I use this as a companion palette and I use the shimmers quite a bit. I mean, because some of these are like everyday and wearable. I'll even wear this one because it shifts blue, but then it's got like, I don't know, kind of like a green flip to it. So I definitely can use that on an everyday basis for work. And then this one right here, Hip Dot Evanescence collaboration, was really terrible quality. I don't get along with the Hip Dot formula, I found. I picked up the Corn collab that came out at the same time as this. These mattes are super patchy. This is one of the worst pressed shimmers I've ever tried ever, and these shimmers are dry as can be. So I am for sure going to pass this along. I've said that like many times in my ranking videos for the year for 2024. So that one goes. And then this is a brand that is no longer in existence. It's the Enchanted Garden palette by Pink Crush Cosmetics. And I picked this up from the NBA Cosmetics website because they were selling all of their remaining stock after they closed on Etsy. And this is one of the palettes, and it was really heavily discounted, and probably why I picked this up from NBA Cosmetics. But I like the quality of this, and it's very everyday. It's just that the deepening shades here are not, one, my favorite, and two, that deep anyway. It's an everyday office look, and it's like good. Like right now, this might still be on their website for like $5. So I don't know if you can still get this or not, but I think there's maybe one other palette that I have from Pink Crush Cosmetics, and it might still be available on the NBA website. Anyway, it's just I have so many palettes in my collection, and one's of very similar color stories, so I do not think that I need to hold on to this. It did not knock my socks off. And then from Cliona Cosmetics, I have the Dragon Fruit palette. You know, this is a nice palette if you like an all shimmer palette, but there's only 3 multi-chromes in here. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, I'm pretty sure. And the rest of these are satin shades with the exception of this one, which is kind of sparkly. So you have to really like satin shades or like a brighter color story that has these satin shades in it that you can use in place of matte shades. Otherwise, I was hoping that this palette had more multi-chromes in it because it could really just be like an awesome banging palette, but I really only cared for these ones. I don't think I would pluck them out and put them with my other Clionadh singles, but I might. I mean, you know, it's one palette. I probably wouldn't split it up because I like having these, but I do ignore them quite frequently, like all the satin shades. So anyway, I don't think this was what I was hoping it would be, but it's still good enough to hold on to. So I'm going to hold on to this. Here is a palette from NBA Cosmetics. It's the Pumpkin Kisses and Autumn Wishes palette. This one was better than it looked. It's definitely like one of those things that just performs really well. You've got some really, really nice, very soft and smooth like multi-chromes here. I just pulled out some of my hair. And then some of these are a little bit more foiled, but they're so deliciously yummy and creamy and the mattes performed really well. So it's just like all around, like the difference between like a palette like this that has kind of a similar vibe to it, I'm gonna say. This one's just better quality and better to hold on to. And then this one from Black Moon Cosmetics is the Urban Myth palette. It's really cute. It's got that UFO mirror in there and the color story is nice because you get like 1 shimmer to 1 matte. The problem is I think that this was like an older palette. It's an older release anyway, but sometimes when they're older releases, I do feel like they've sat in the stock that long. And while they may not have been opened after like quality control and checking, I do think that the formula is still subject to expire and get older. So I felt like these were really dry shimmers and these mattes were also really dry. I got some hard panning in this shade and it was super patchy on my eyes. Or maybe it was hard panning in this one and then this one was just like massively patchy for me. So I kind of think it was an expired formula. So I don't know how it was when it was brand new. Again, a 3 or 4 year old palette, but I know they just recently had a new release and I'd like to test like a newer formulation from them and compare it against how I felt about this. But for now, even though this is like a beautiful palette, I am going to let it go. And then this one was a stunner, the Rebel Rouge Labs Howlin' For You palette. I kept the sleeve. I do on some of them, but this one has a different sleeve than the inside cover. This one performed really well, like better than I thought it was going to, even though it has a pressed glitter. It's only a 9 pan and it's huge pans, but the formula just performed really well. Kind of one of those things where you get a look out of it that it was better than you thought it was going to be, and that's how this palette made me feel. So I don't think I have any more palettes from Rebel Rouge Labs at the current moment, but I would definitely test more in this formula. This is the only time I've tested the Terra Moon Cosmetics formula. This is the Space Chemistry palette. This is interesting because these are all extremely, extremely sparkly shades. And so they create a ton of fallout. They're a heavy maintenance formula, and I don't know if this is how all of their formulations come. So my first time testing it, I'm kind of like, wow, this is a lot of work. And also these mattes are immensely out of place. Mustardy kind of brown shade. I don't love it with any of the shimmers, to be honest, not even the green and the yellow. And then this one here, I do kind of like in the crease, but it's also a little bit deep, you know, it's not like that super neutral tone. It's almost like a little warm. So I didn't love them for the shimmers and I thought about getting rid of this, but I do like this if I'm willing to work to make the shimmer stick. It's a glitter glue kind of formulation all day long. So maybe a little bit more work, but it's still beautiful because I love sparkly things. All right, this one from Diaverin Cosmetics is the Gloomy Gardens palette. This is one of my favorite palettes this year. I think that I am drawn to palettes that make sense in terms of color story. You just get like a column that you can make an entire look out of. To me, there's just something super simple and pleasing to the eye. Even though I probably would have put these backwards, I would have started with like the lighter shade and then the deepening shade. But I mean, sometimes I will put the deep shade down first and then diffuse it with a lighter shade and then the shimmer. Kind of in a gradient would have been cool. But I do really enjoy this formula. I really enjoy this quality. The mattes performed really well and the shimmers were just stunners. These are really beautiful shimmers, like just all on their own. So want to pick up some more stuff from Diaverin Cosmetics when I get to the point that I have room in my collection. Okay. And then from Micah Beauty Shop, I think, I'm always saying I never know how this is pronounced, Micah or Micah, but this is the Simplicity palette. I like the shimmer formula here. I think that even though there's some like neutrals going on, that like the strange pops of color, because this is like a really pastel, like neon shade actually, and this is more pastel. It still works, but this is a really, really dry kind of sparkly shade, and it doesn't even pick up very well like on a swatch. It definitely doesn't pick up well on a brush. So that was the only one that I found trouble with the formulation or the quality of the formulation in. But the shimmers are also different. Super sparkly, super foily. This is also super foily, but it's like it's a black base with gold sparkles, foily, sparkly, sparkly. There's something about giving me variety in the shimmer formula that really does it for me. Not to say that the mattes aren't important, but I do find myself finding that to be an important aspect of a palette. So anyway, even though this is like, again, a primarily neutral, I think you get like a lot of neutrals in this V right here, this U, and then kind of pops of color in this T. So it's a little bit strange, but I liked the Glaminatrix palette, the Sugar and Spice, that's also kind of weirdly neutral with pops of color. For whatever reason, those do not bother me. In fact, I find that they actually work more than I think they will. So I'm going to hold on to this one. Now let's get into, we'll do Game Beauty next. I received all of these in PR, essentially. I was given a gift card so that I could choose them. So I I chose these color stories, and they're just different qualities. These palettes right here are made in China, while their trifold tin pans are actually made in the USA. No, sorry, they're made in Italy. So these ones made in Italy, these ones made in China, but the formulation on this one is just really different. Obviously went to different labs. Anyway, I think the quality here is better in these ones because these mattes are just creamier. These shimmers are gorgeous too. You get like a translucent multi-chrome, deep based shimmers here, but they're just so beautiful when they get to the eyes. They're very light reflective. I'm not a huge fan of monochromatic palettes, and I have said this before, but I did pick these color stories. They don't have a ton of palettes anyway. By the time I picked these, their newest collaboration like hadn't come out yet, or maybe it had, but I wasn't allowed to pick it. So they do have other palettes in a different series that I didn't get to try, but anyway, I wanted to try the formula, so that's kind of why I grabbed the monochromatic palettes that I'm not a huge fan of, because I don't know if I normally would have purchased this color story for myself. Okay, a lot of talking is going on. I like this though. The mattes are super creamy and they perform really well, so I do want to hold on to it. And then this one, probably my favorite because of these like super spicy shimmers. I'm just a huge fan. The one thing that I wish in this palette is that we had like a deeper, deep, like if they had put some more red pigment in this and just given us like a brownish red instead of this that pulls really pink on the eyes, and then this one that's super duper warm and terracotta. I don't know, I just feel like it would have tied it in just a little bit better to bring in some of these brighter shades but still make it look good. These two for the outer corner are not my absolute favorite, but the fire shimmer shades, it's gonna make me keep it. And then this one's probably the least monochromatic, but maybe my least favorite because the shimmers just weren't as exciting. Not to say that they're not fabulous, because look at this. Multi-chrome or duochrome goodness. It's hard to see, but it's like a green to gold flip. And then these two, buttery soft. But I will say that this shade here used for deepening is not my favorite. But you know what? I still want to hold on to all my Game Beauty palettes because there's just something about quality of those that was really good. And these ones here, I think I want to hold on to for now because I just really enjoyed the packaging. There's just something fun about these, and for me sometimes that will do it. This color story is not the most cohesive thing, but I do like a black matte in here so you can create like smoky looks, and I think the palette is good for that. Would I grab this one over others? Probably not, but I am a fan of the packaging, I will say. The Adventure palette too, I think if I was going to declutter this one, I would declutter the other trifold at the same time. Not to say that you need to do that, but to keep them as a pair for me makes sense. Again, wish they didn't do pressed glitters because most of us that I see are not grabbing for pressed glitters. Not to say that I don't like glittery things, but I'm just not a pressed glitter user typically. So anyway, I'm gonna hold on to that. Now I have my Give Me Glow formula, or
collection, and I love Give Me Glow. Give Me Glow is one of my favorite indie brands. If you guys have ever heard me talk about the Give Me Glow formula, you guys, they do amazing things with their shimmers. So this is the Mystical Garden palette, which I think that got shrunk at some point, and that's when I picked it up. Their shimmer formula is like just delicious. You cannot tell me this is not like indie quality shimmer. And it goes pretty light to pretty dark, and you have basically quads, you know, 1 quad, 2 quad, 3 quad, that just makes sense, but you can also pair the other shades together. I think probably my favorite Give Me Glow palette right now, just because of its versatility in comparison to the other ones. The mattes are buttery soft, but the shimmers are so good. And then Christmas Morning, I think that I like Christmas Morning more than the Vintage Rose that's over here. I can never remember. One of the mattes are creamier, and it actually might be, no, the Vintage Rose is better. So I love this for the shimmer formula. You've got a duochrome. I'm telling you guys, these are the kind of shimmer formulas that just keep going and going and going and going. They're brilliant. They're brilliant. They really are. And then the mattes perform beautifully. So like I said, I want to hold on to all of these. But for whatever reason, the Vintage Rose palette is so much creamier in the matte department. I'm getting some leakage in this shade, but it doesn't deter me so long as the packaging holds together. Actually, I see some in this shade too. But again, nice color story, huge fat pans, but still brilliant shimmer formula. And then the Haunted palette came in square pans. But buttery, the mattes are super buttery, and the shimmer formula is exactly the same. So even though you don't get variety, I still love the shimmer formula. There's something to be said about like, oh, that's the Give Me Glow shimmer formula. So I like that. Anyway, holding on to that one. Now all we have are the smaller palettes, some of my singles, and then we'll go through the ones that I haven't even tried yet. So the last like section that's gonna have some decluttering is gonna be the next one with all my smaller palettes. But from the stack, we did end up decluttering 3 of these palettes. Okay, I know this isn't super centered in the screen, but this is all of my smaller palettes. It does kind of go back here beyond the camera a little bit. So some of the stuff I'm gonna end up decluttering, especially from this pile, which is the stuff that I used in 2024 for the first time, minus the thing at the bottom. And some of it I just don't want to keep in my collection, but also I want to get rid of some. A lot of this is Viseart, which I probably won't get rid of, but let's go through it. Let's actually start with this pile over here that I had. So I have one Makeup by Mario palette, and guys, I will be honest, in this particular case, I'm holding onto it because it is the only Makeup by Mario formula that I've got. And if I ever do like a comparison to the eyeshadow formula, which I may do at some point, I would like to take these mattes out. And also because it's a reference point for me. Like if it ever comes up, I would say, I tried this, I could hold it up and talk about it. It was not my favorite quality. I have better mattes. I have a lot better mattes, to be honest. And this was a very expensive palette for what it was, I think. I had a lot of creasing with the black shade, even with set eyes. And a lot of these browns are so similar. So the mattes didn't perform for me the way that I wanted. And there's too much similarity in the shades, period. So this is not a palette I think worth your money. I would say like, if you wanted a neutral color, okay, find yourself a color story in an affordable palette, because even the mattes are better in this palette than these ones were. You know, I could see a lot of people saying like, I love these shades because I'm just very neutral and I like something in the crease and like a transition, and I get all of that. Like I understand, or you can do like something smoky, but I think there are other palettes like this that are really good matte quality that give you the same thing that are better. So, but for now, if it makes sense, I'm gonna hold on to this for comparison purposes. I'm gonna do the same thing with the Charlotte Tilbury quad. It's the only quad that I have, the only formula that I've got from Charlotte. But again, I didn't like this. This was her release from 2024. It's one of the few quads that she's released in the last few years. I wasn't a fan of the quality. The matte is buttery soft. That's nice. But the shimmer formula was nothing for me to write home about. You've got one that's kind of nice, one that's a little bit drier. This is more like a satin and this is a topper. Sorry, I was kind of pointing at the wrong thing. So for a $55 quad, give me a break. I can for sure get this elsewhere. So I wasn't a huge fan of the formulation. These might be popular for some people. It might be a quality that a lot of people like. For me, I don't know. I've tested a lot of formulations, have a preference, and topper shades aren't it for sure. Satin shades in a $55 quad, they're not it. But I'm gonna hold on to it for comparison purposes if I ever talk about like a new release. And by comparison, the YSL quad, so much better. These are creamier mattes. They perform better. you have a more impactful shimmer and a way more impactful sparkly shade. So if you wanted to do a sparkly shade, you could. The quality is night and day. I mean, we're talking about like this really weird, kind of like dry, you know, I'm doing like one single swatch, but it's a lot drier than this one from YSL that's creamier. It lasts longer. It's just smoother in general. It's just more light reflecting too. I mean, that could be a color thing, but it performs so much better than the one from Charlotte. So I think a luxury can do it. I was not a fan of this at all. Anyway, this is good quality. I would say if you're into luxury shadows, YSL is doing a really good job with these mini clutches, and this one is in 800, so I'm keeping that. Now these two affordable ones from AOA Studio, they're decent quality. This one was a color story issue for me because there you got a lot of deep shimmers, but only one deep matte, and you know, typically I wouldn't pair a brown with like a deep purple shimmer that's more like a satin. Same thing with this. And then kind of a translucent glittery shade. So the formulation and color story wasn't my favorite. These are like $1. So this was the Cherry Blossom eyeshadow palette in Hirosaki was the color story. But I'm gonna pass it along because I've got a lot of things going on in my collection. This will not get reached over the other stuff. This here, I think I debated on whether or not I was gonna keep it. This is actually like a blush and highlighter and eyeshadow palette in Emerald Peacock, and these are all baked shadows. I don't think there's anything wrong with the quality of this. I enjoyed this so much more than the other one, even though these are baked because they're so freaking smooth. They're really soft and creamy and delicious, and they perform really well. But it's a companion palette and I have a lot of those, you know, so I would rather get use out of the ones I paid more for that I feel similarly about. So I'm gonna pass it along. I tested it, I feel good about it. Here's some singles. I'm not getting rid of any of them. Actually, no, I'm gonna get rid of this pressed glitter. I never ever reach for it. It's from With Love Cosmetics and I have no idea what shade it's in, but I have a bio glitter that you guys saw from Lawless, and since I actually showed it to you, I've actually pulled it out and I've been using it, and it's really good, and it's got more creaminess than this. The sparkles stick together more, so I'm gonna pass this one along. I held on to that one because I did really like it. Odin's Eye, Cleona. Okay, they're not going anywhere, so. I want to say these are all my bigger Visearts, so I guess we'll just go through them by size. It's kind of what I was thinking. All right, the La Mara. Is this recent? No, it's not. It's very, very, very warm. I don't think I want to get rid of any of my Viseart because I haven't used them in a while, but this was really good quality. The thing with Viseart is like their mattes are really buttery, soft, and their shimmers are immensely everyday, but they throw in some duochromes too. It's just that these shadows last a long time when they're really good quality. I think I do have some hit and misses with the Viseart formulation, especially in some of their newer stuff, but some of their older stuff I think is really, really good. So I like the quality so much. It kind of comes down to the color story, and even though this one is like super, super warm, there's a time when I use super warm shadows. There's sometimes I just create super warm looks because that's what I'm looking for. The Soleil La Playa, I don't really know. This one's cool. You've only got one pop of, well, I shouldn't say one pop of color. This one and this one are pretty bright, but also so is the orange. So it's like a neutral with pops of color, I guess is kind of what this palette is. The quality on it was good. I guess I'm not a huge fan of when like shimmers come like this, like bright like that, but they're not very light reflective because none of the shimmer formula from Viseart is very light reflective. The Kashmiri palette, lovely cool tones. Probably the only like super and primarily cool toned palette that I have from Viseart. Definitely a couple of shimmers I haven't even touched in this palette, so haven't used it all that much, but I'm so much more into cool tones than when I got it. This is the Cyranouse Intendu, and I think that, yeah, this was a release this year. Actually, I'm wrong. This is like a all cool tone. I guess maybe not. These are like warmer tones. So is this. So the Kashmiri is definitely like my all cool tone. I did think this was of Viseart's good quality. Some releases last year I ended up decluttering because I did not think they were good quality. Okay, I'm actually pulling out like different sizes now because I only have one of the edits and then one of the bijous. So the bijous actually come with cheek products, and then I have these ones over here that are all the same size. So as far as I know right now on their site, they only have 2 of these bijou palettes. This one's the Florette, and they came out with one after that, but I didn't pick it up. I like the cheek formula. I thought it was actually really good and very airbrush looking. Like, it's just a really good powder formula. This is a primarily warm color story. It was nice though. I guess this is a little bit of a dry shade. My family's getting loud. So I don't know, this wasn't my favorite from them, but I do think that it's worth holding on to. And then the Spritz edit is delightful. You're gonna hear them coming upstairs because they're going to bed, but it's delightful because it has like a deepening shade. You can use some of these shimmers like all on their own. And then also it's got some sparkly shades in this one that it doesn't in a lot of other palettes. Like this one is definitely sparkly, and maybe that's pretty much it, but I don't know. I really liked the quality of this. Something about this one was better than some of the other ones. All right, these ones. I want to say these came out in 23. The San Francisco Etoile. This one's interesting, color story, because you have the teal shade that's kind of a deepening shade, but you can use it with this one so you can get like a teal look out of it instead of just neutrals. Busy Art has a tendency to always wrap some neutrals or always wrap some bright colors in neutral palettes. Same thing with this one, the London Etoile. Etoile? I don't know, you guys, don't correct me, it's fine, I'll never get it. But pops of color in kind of a neutral palette. But you can get a purple look out of it, but you can also go pretty deep with this maroon shade to use with this shimmer here. Quality with these little ones was really good. I don't think I've used this palette that much. I can see some of the shades haven't been touched. I try and touch every shade, but it doesn't always happen. This one, again, you've got neutrals with pops of color. The greens. The only one in this palette I don't think I've used is the purple one. So anyway, good quality in these ones. And then this is my oldest one, the Petite Pro. I don't know where I got this, and I don't think you can get this one anymore. But again, pop of color inside of neutrals. My family is literally a hoot sometimes. Okay, now I have these Petit Fours. Who knows if I'm saying that right? Again, don't feel the need to correct me. Again, I'll never get it right. Violetta, Lila Do, the Garnet, and the Amelie. I like all of these. These were the ones that I struggled with quality from the releases from last year. But these ones I think came out in 22 or 23, and they were so freaking good. The shimmers were better. Like, these are creamier and more delicious than the stuff that's come out more recently, like the Intendu. I just love the quality of this. This is a warm little color story, but it is so good if that's what you're looking for. The only thing is, like, look at the actual picture of the palette against what the box looks like, you know? It's not the same, so you gotta be careful when you're buying them online to really look at the color story. I guess I got rid of that one. This one is kind of an all shimmer palette because this is a matte that does nothing for me. But the shimmers I was wearing like all on their own. So I like it. I like the shimmer formula. It was really good quality, way creamier, a lot less powdery in these ones. And the Lila Da was really good. I think I'm saying it right. Yeah, the shimmers are just creamy, super creamy, much more foily than this one or some of the other ones that they're okay, but they're kind of like satins, where these ones are just like, you can tell how much creamier they are, with the exception of like this one that's truly a matte with sparkles. But see how foily that looks? This one is so good. Love this one. I'm keeping all of them, if that was not obvious. Let's pull out some of these other little ones because some of these are for sure gonna go. Let's start with these ones right here. Might as well. I have one from M Cosmetics. It's the Divine Skies. I'm not a fan of the formula. I know a lot of people said that they are, but I don't know. I'm over here swatching it to see what I think. That one definitely looks like the most creamy shade, which is this one right here. I guess it's fine for an everyday palette. I was never impressed with the matte formulation with this, and every time it makes it through a declutter, I never reach for it again, so I'm gonna pass it along. The Maverick palette from Revlon. I like these little Looks Book palette. And it's good, it's just tiny little pans. And I had other ones when I first started building my collection. I was using these quite frequently. So I got a couple, but I decluttered the other ones just because of the color story. But I held on to this one because it was so good. I've like made a dip, I'm dropping it, in this shade right here, this shimmer shade. But I won't reach for this over other ones. Like if I'm looking for a warm color story, I will definitely reach for other more expensive palettes. I'm gonna pass it along. You guys, this Kiko Milano one was so freaking fabulous. It was so good. I mean, I'm grinding my teeth because it ranked so high for me in one of my palette rankings because I just kept reaching for this. Like this was everything in a tiny little palette that I wanted. If it was bigger, it would make sense, but shimmer you could wear on your own. Warm tone, deeper outer corner. Cooler tone, deeper outer corner. This is still a little bit warm, but if you kind of pack it, you know, it's a little bit more neutral. So it had a lighter transition, one that was a little bit deeper, and a bunch of different colored shimmers. There was something so good. It's just silly because it's like, it's a 9-pan, but it's so small. So you know, maybe it doesn't look as impressive just because of the packaging, but no, I'm gonna keep it. This is a great, great travel palette, and I really liked the quality. I'm just okay with letting stuff like that go over some of the more expensive indie shadows, although I don't think this was like super affordable. It just wasn't like so expensive. This is also an amazing travel palette. It's from Lorac. It's the Mini Pro palette in Sparkling. Super good, cool tone travel palette. I like the Lorac shimmer formula, so that one stays. Pat McGrath, this little 6-pan here is the Sublime Smoke. I think this is amazing. So smoky, so delicious. Like for a smoky look, it's, fantastic. Was a good formula. It's not like special shades or anything like that, but the mattes here were better than some of the mattes I find in the Mothership palettes. So I'm gonna hold on to that one. Let's go through the luxury quads, shall we? These are like cheap reflective packaging. Now when Prada came out with these last year, amazing quality. They're buttery and creamy. They're almost like cream shades. And at the top, I don't know if you can see that, that's actually a deep matte shade. So fabulous quality, shimmer, so good, so good. Very expensive, not more expensive than Hermes, but it was still good. Like Prada has a really good eyeshadow formula. Suffice it to say, I would even say that of the luxury palettes that I have, the luxury eyeshadow quads, the Tom Fords that I'm going to show you, the Chanel, the Hermes, the YSL, that Prada is one of the better formulations in my opinion, just based on the use of this palette. This one stays. Let's go over Hermes. We might as well. It's good too. The mattes are not as creamy though. I mean, they're just really, really a powder formula, whereas this one, I could almost say that they're a cream formula. The shimmer was really good too. The matte's really good. Like, it really is good. It's expensive for a quad, but you know, it doesn't disappoint like how I feel about Charlotte. This one from Chanel is an all shimmer quad, but it's good though. It's kind of one of those fun to keep around if you're gonna do like a look from Chanel, but the quality is just amazing. So you can't be mad at it. For what it is, it's really good. Now this one from Rowan, I've held on to. It's the 1111. I just think that people like this kind of stuff as singles, but these are always like super dry for me, like really dry. And they're not supposed to be, they're creams. This one's the creamiest. It always has been. It's just not a formula that I like. It's funny because I'm so into like singles at the current moment. Like fast, gotta get ready. I'm going into the office every day now and I'm just like, I don't care, I don't have time, I'm tired. So like naturally, I'd be searching for a palette like this at this time, but I said that I was gonna give it another go. It's still just dry. I haven't even given it a go. This is not a cream formula that I love. I think it could be, and I know a lot of people like it, but it isn't for me. It isn't. I wanted it to. I tried. I'm gonna pass it along because I never reach for it. Doesn't mean it's bad, just means it's not for me, that's all. These are all my Divina singles, and then I have one from, oh my gosh, you guys, I can't remember. Unicorn Tears. I wanna say this is from Clarity Cosmetics. I think it's Clarity Cosmetics, I'm pretty sure. But these ones are all my Divina ones. And I prefer these 3 over this one, which is, I don't know why I bought this. I guess I liked the color because it's kind of like that fiery orange, but it's not necessarily like a shifty or a very light reflecting shade or even sparkly the way that these other 3 are. But yes, Clarity Cosmetics. Oh my gosh, no. Is this Shine by SD? Why can't I not remember? Unicorn Tears, one of my favorite shimmers ever. Ever one of my favorite shimmer. Look it up, you guys. It's a multi-chrome Unicorn Tear. Figure out who makes this. I'm so sorry. It's just the only one in here that isn't the Divina shadows. I'm keeping all of these. All right, the last of the little ones here are my Tom Ford quads, and I don't think I've let any of these go, and I probably wouldn't. I do like these palettes because I think Tom Ford typically does a good job on the color stories of these. This one here, and these are all discontinued, Leopard Sun. Actually, Leopard Sun might still be available. I don't even know. I do like it. These are kind of satin shades and then one shimmer shade. So long as these don't dry out, these are good quality for what they are. Just nicked it in the corner there. I don't mind paying luxury prices for luxury palettes, even if they don't outperform indie brands, because I have different expectations of luxury shadows. It's just that, do they perform or do they not perform? You know, that is the question. Keeping Leopard Sun, keeping them all. Pretty Baby. I was influenced by Mel Thompson to buy this one before she passed. I think she was one of the first people I started watching. Anyway, this shimmer shade was just really good, and I think it's like a duochrome. So I don't know Tom Ford to do like shifty duochromes, but it was a nice little treat. I don't run out and buy these on purpose. I think I collected these like over several years, and one I got from the cosmetics company store, which I think was the Leopard Sun one, and then the other 2 I paid full price for. This one included, and these are all baked shadows, so this is his baked formula. This was in Honeymoon. Honeymoon might still be available for sale too. I can't remember which ones are discontinued. They kind of go out of stock pretty frequently in the luxury brand world. All right, I was able to put all of my not Viseart palettes in one container, and then all of my Viseart palettes in one container. So that feels pretty good. I did forget this guy, but this goes in a different bin. I just pulled it out together. And then the Makeup by Mario. So from this, I ended up decluttering from the small palette land 5 palettes plus a single. I don't know where I'm gonna put this. I think I have like an empty palette that I've been holding on to that I've like slowly been adding to for my singles. So 5 and a single. That's what we got rid of from this stack. Let's get the stuff that I'm gonna go through with you guys that I haven't even tested yet. Okay, this is it. It's kind of a close-up shot, but I'm gonna move them aside. Probably gonna go through these pretty quickly because I don't have any thoughts on them. So it's just like looking at the color story, although there are 2 more baskets. So prepare yourself. These are the ones I have not tried yet. By the way, I pay all my own money for these. This was my attempt in 2024 to really support more independent brands and to try more things. So that's what this is essentially. All right, let's go through this first stack. There's no organization here whatsoever. It's how they fit in these bins. This one here is from, oh my gosh, this one is NBA Cosmetics, Forever Young. I'm pretty sure this is NBA. The thing is, it's not like listed anywhere on here, but I'm like 99% sure it's NBA Cosmetics. Fun color story, neutrals with some pops of color, and the shimmers look delectable. By the way, I'm doing a palette a day series, an eyeshadow palette a day series in 2024 and 5. So all of these I still have to get to feature on my channel. Now it sounds like Colored Rain's gone out of business. This is the Queen Bee palette. Didn't even get to test it before they announced their closure. That's why all of these were so heavily discounted. I do have another one in here. That looks delicious. I have the Nude Trolls from Cosmic Brushes, and somewhere I have the Cool Trolls, which I think I'll go over in the other one. I have swatched this, but I have not put this on my eyes. It's nude, but it's kind of warm. It's also kind of cool too. There's some cool tones and some warm tones. I wasn't the biggest fan of the Muse palette, which I told you guys earlier, so I don't know. I'm definitely trepidatious when it comes to testing the formulation of this one and the other one. One of my favorite brands this year, DD Signature. This is the Neutral Wonder palette. The bad thing is this had the worst leakage. I don't know if you guys can see. There, you can see much better. the worst leakage in these shimmer shades of a palette that I've never tested before. Like, especially this one, it's just leaking out. But the thing with like DD Signature is like she always gives us these like different formulations. Foily, you know, sparkly, you've got a multi-chrome or a duochrome over here, and then two kind of standard metallic formulations. It's always different, and you heard me say like I like variety, so I'm totally interested to try more of her stuff. And I have one new release coming that's pre-order that I actually think it's like prepared for shipment, but she hasn't like sent it out yet, that I'm really excited about. I just ordered that. And then the Cimmerian Sunset from Adept. Swatched it, but haven't used it. Just like a really warm sunset-y palette. But this one is one of those formulations where you get like softer ones, but you also get some chunky ones in there too. There's at least 3 chunky ones in this, potentially more. And then Ladybug Glow. I think I have 2 palettes from Ladybug Glow. And this one was like a release in 24. I haven't used it yet. Just an all shimmer. Oh, here's the other one from Ladybug Glow, The End of the Rainbow, which is an older palette. This was in collaboration with Ice Cream Beauty. It looks so good though. You've got some cool shimmers like down the center. This is a shifty, beautiful, pinky white based. Maybe it's even translucent. It's hard to tell. So I don't know if I've swatched this, and if I did, I don't remember. But these are 2 more foily shades, so I'm so interested to see how this performs. It's like greens and neutrals with pops of color. I don't know. I'm sure I can have a fun time with that. Also, one of my favorite brands is KARIM Cosmetics, the Bougie Boudoir. This was new in 2024. I haven't gotten to it. I did try, though, their Skulls and Roses palette. That was fabulous. This looks super similar to that, though. You've got foiled shades and then super sparkly ones, which I feel like Gemma does in her palettes. Like, some of these are really sparkly. You can kind of see even this one right here. The dog is outside the door, just like clickety-clacking. Anyway, I want to say that KARIM Cosmetics has more stuff. Like, did she release another palette, or was the Bougie Boudoir the last one? I don't know. Still need to test. Also, one of my favorite brands, Bella Beauté Bar. I have an affiliate code with this brand. It's in my links in the description box. This is still available for sale, I'm pretty sure, but this is a very expensive palette. All magnetic, super duper heavy duty. You've got some flatter multi-chromes here, and then some foiled shades. So variety. It's just about whether or not I love the color story, because Bella Beauté Bar does amazing mattes too. And then this is the Dead Roses palette. I have actually used this, but I didn't love the colors that I put together. I think you could do some fun things with this, but I didn't love the looks that I did. So I scrapped that video, so I still have to do a look with that one. And then Blend Bunny, my one and only Blend Bunny palette. I have not tried this formula yet. Why I got this one over other ones that I could have purchased, I don't know. Probably because I was like, you better do something out there if you're gonna try Blend Bunny. And I heard that a lot of people said this was like a really good color story, but you have some deepening shades that are neutrals in here. So I think you can do some fun things with this palette. And then Notoriously Morbid, you guys, one of the worst brands that I tried for 2024 in the one palette that I tried. This one, the Unearthly Aura, is an all shimmer palette. So, you know, maybe it's different. Maybe I get a different experience, but the shimmers were dry and flaky, and the mattes were so powdery they were falling apart in the pan. So I'm scared. I'm scared to try that. Artitude Cosmetics was also one of my favorite brands for 2024. This is their Metamorph palette. They have 2 more releases that just came out, the Vintage and something, but this was the palette that released before that. And I think that's how it went. Anyway, I finally picked it up because I meant to. It's just that with Artitude Cosmetics, because they're out of the UK, the shipping for me is crazy. So I don't know. I guess I wait a little while and see if they have other stuff that drops so I can pick it up at the same time. All right, let's go through some more. Unearthly Cosmetics. I want to say this is an older palette, the Frolic palette that I picked up from them. And I'm familiar with the formula, but this one looks very similar to their other like standard formulas, which is just like your basic metallic shimmers. Like this one even looks like a satin kind of. It's kind of a desaturated color story, so we'll see how that turns out. This is the other Fantasy Cosmetica palette that I haven't gotten to yet. It's the Warlock palette. palette. I really enjoyed the other Fantasy Cosmetica palette that I had. So I'm excited to try this one. And then you guys know how I feel about Gimme Glow. Look at this. Isn't this such a beautiful little palette? These shimmers look even kind of different than what they normally do in those big palettes. This one's like kind of shifty and this one's like extra light reflecting. So I'm so excited to test this one. Probably Valentine's Day for this year. And then Nomad Cosmetics. I want to say I have 2 more Nomad Cosmetics palettes that I haven't tried yet. This one, the shimmers look different. I wasn't a huge fan of the Ghost Town USA, but don't these look different than that? Like this one looks super sparkly and kind of chunky. And look at this. This is a duochrome / multi-chrome. Both of these are. Actually, all 3 of these at the bottom, maybe even this one. So I think this New Zealand Stargaze one, which I think actually released in 2024, is a different formulation than Ghost Town USA. All right, Sugar Drizzle. Gotta try this brand. Only picked up one. Doesn't it look beautiful? Hello. These are the kind of shimmers I just want to like put my finger in like immediately. Haven't even swatched this. I got a lot of work to do for 2025, don't I? All right, the Mad Witch Cosmetics Chance palette. This was a fairly new release, I think, in 2024. This was a new brand, I think. I'm pretty sure. But some fun stuff going on in here. Look at Chunk City and then Sparkly and ooh, neutral with pops of colors in the shimmers, which is fun because they give you deep black shades. So you can do like a full-on smoky look with the green and it still wouldn't look funny. So I'm excited for this color story. No kidding. I think I can do some really cool things with it and different things too, which excites me. I usually keep the sleeves on until I've decided whether I'm going to keep the palette or not. All right, Gloss Gods. I do have a code with them. This is an all shimmer palette. Look for rainbows, guys. Look at this shade right here. It's like teal blue to like green. Can I get it in the mirror? Oh my gosh. Yummy, yummy. But then some foily shades. This looks good. Oh, here's the other Nomad. This is the Okavango Safari palette. Okay, these shimmers look very similar to the Ghost Town USA, I'm gonna say. And when this one arrived, it smelled funny. I think the bonding oil was so strong, but it's since faded. All right, Makeup Rituals. To Love Thyself. I think this is the only palette that I have from them. It looks decent, it looks good. These kind of give me like an impression that they're gonna hard pan because they look a little bit hard pressed in the pan, the matte shades do. Oh, I did pick up another one from Ladybug Glow, the Magical Creation. This might even have been a new release too. There was like a couple that she released that were like this, but this was just a really appealing color story because it had that really sparkly shimmer. This is sparkly too, but it's like a mixture, and this one looks like a translucent duochrome, but this even looks like you compare these 2 shades and use that shimmer. Same thing. For each one of these, this just looked like a really good 6-pan. Like a very useful 6-pan. And then this one was from Spellbound Beauty. I got the Witchcraft palette. Again, just one palette to try the brand, but I have color stories that are similar, which is like mixing neutrals with pops of color and then a bunch of shimmers. This is a pretty shimmer heavy palette, but I'm excited for it because sometimes I'm like looking at palettes and then getting an idea of what I think the quality is going to be. So I don't know, that excites me. And not always true, but oh, this one is from Sinful Echoes. It's Echoes in the Darkness. I have swatched this. Some of these shades were very powdery in the mattes, but these felt buttery soft. This palette already looks like a mess. Must have been like hard swatching. All right, the Barely Basic palette from Glaminatrix. Was this also a release in 2024? I bought stuff, but haven't had a chance to do my palette a day series because I was kind of going fall themed. But this looks like to die for, you know? Like if you really want to just do neutrals and basic, like you can have a lot of fun. So you have a whole translucent duochrome or multi-chrome row. Hello, hello. And then, the best shades in the world are all right here. Yes, they are. I'm gonna get rid of the box because there's no way I'm getting rid of that palette. And then the Angles of Illumination from Bella Beauté Bar was the all shimmer palette. I don't think she still has this available on her site. It went out of stock and then back in stock. And I think it's like got a whole 8 pans that are really blue, and these 2 shimmers look super similar. We'll see if they come out similar on the eyes, but these also look super similar. So I'm worried that I won't love all of the blues or I won't love that there's that many blues in here, but we'll see. And then the two new releases from Ensley Rain. I think she has 3 quads out now, but I just picked up the 2. This one was Nutty by Nature. I'm also just gonna get rid of the box. Oh, it comes in a box and a sleeve. Interesting. These have the covers on them now. They're shipping them like this. I think I can take it off. I was kind of keeping them on there so that I could like show it in the video, but this one is definitely a multi-chrome. And then the color story is fabulous. Color with neutral. And I think the shimmers make sense for the matte color story. We'll see what happens with Ensley Rain. Happy Go Lucky is this one. I kind of like that they're coming out with these smaller palettes because the Cold Moon, like the bigger ones, I feel like they were okay. They overwhelmed me. They're a bigger palette size than I normally would go for. But isn't that so adorable? I almost said adorbs, but I feel like I'm too old to be saying that. Okay guys, these are the last of them. This bin right here, just a bunch more, but this bin right here is actually the ones that have been slotted to use next because they're kind of like the cool tone palettes. So let's go over this big bin first. This is another one from Pink Crush Cosmetics. I want to say I probably also got this on the MBA website. It's kind of a very similar color story to the other one that I ended up decluttering. So I'm not sure why I picked up like both that are super similar. I think this one has deeper and more interesting like outer corner shades. It's not quite as desaturated as the other one. So I don't know, since I've already tested the formula, if this one doesn't blow me away, I could definitely see myself letting it go at some point, especially because the brand doesn't exist anymore. This one from Salem Cosmetics is the Grunge Life palette. This one has a really like autumn themed, fall themed palette. It looks really good, but I haven't tested the Salem Cosmetics formula at all. I think this was pretty affordable too. It had like an oopsie print down here, so I think I got this like at some sort of discount, but you can see there's like different shimmer formulas in here, which is actually really nice. So see how this goes. I almost got to this one during the fall, but not quite, as you know. And then Gal on Venus by Gloss Gods is a super warm tone palette, but the shimmer formula is amazing. You've got sparkly shades, more foily shades, softer or thinner maybe, multi-chrome shades, actually really good. But it's pretty bright, warm, so probably I could see myself doing looks with this palette like for myself, but maybe not like an everyday palette necessarily. Actually, that's not true. I think you can probably do something more everyday with these 2 shades over here. All right, the other one that I have from Colored Rain, this is a really desaturated color story, Safari Rain. I got this palette for like $2 before they closed down or they got rid of all of their stock. So it was like super cheap. I don't like all this like empty space, but I have no idea if the Colored Rain formula was any good at all. Ooh, here are 2 more that I have from Notoriously Morbid. I'm so worried that I bought too many and I just ended up not liking the formula. Paint the Town Red. I have swatched this and these are very powdery shades, but I don't think I swatched that many of the shimmers. So maybe it's a better formulation than the last one I tried, the Bog Witch. Oh gosh, look, it's like already like falling apart in here. I don't know. Just something about this formula. It's like really sandy, very, very thin. It's like a loose powder that just didn't get pressed well, you know? It just reminds me like you touch it and it's kind of like a setting powder. All right, this one, actually, this is another one from Salem Cosmetics in collaboration with Sassy Fairy. This is the In My Dreams palette. Oh, purple color story. Also looks really good. Only 2 real shimmers in this one. This one's like a matte with sparkles. Oh, this one as well. Anyway. All right. It's Belle Cosmetics, another brand that I believe is still going to close down. They don't have a website up anymore, I don't think. It's the Break the Rules palette, which I also believe is 100% a shimmer palette. Multi-formula pressed pigment palette. Yeah, all shimmers. Oh, I'm thinking of the other all shimmer palettes from Gourmand Girls. So this is just one that I have from It's Belle Cosmetics. The thing is, I loved their formula so much. I'm so sad they closed down. Clarity Cosmetics. I still haven't tried this Lily palette that I picked up with the Bloom palette. And the Bloom palette was so freaking bad, I'm scared about this one. Although, like, these don't look like the weird sandy formula. These look so much better. So this actually might perform a lot differently than the Bloom palette, because the Bloom and the Lily palette kind of came together. And then I have the Garden of Love from Shine by SD. I just didn't get to it yet. And then this one I picked up, I think this one was in PR, and I don't remember the name of it. It might actually be on here. It's like the Soft Glam packaging from ABH, but it's like the sultry color story, if I can ever get this out. Who Walks You? That was the name of this. See how it's like soft glam packaging, and then it's more like the sultry color story, but that doesn't that look delicious? Ooh, some of these, like this multi-chrome here, looks so good. So does that one. This just, oh, this is a nice neutral. There's like cool tones in here, so I don't know. It's kind of like a mixture. I was gonna say neutral cool tone palette, but it's got some warm tones. I think it's kind of a mixture. I picked this one up with my gift card that C Beauty Mall gave me. So you can get this on C Beauty Mall. I don't know where else you can get it. All right, another one that you can also get from the C Beauty Mall. This is Krypton Cosmetics. One of my favorite brands that I tried in 2024. Their very first launch was the Burnt Forest palette. They do these cool packagings. I love the quality of these. These were so good. And this one came with these things in here for these pressed shimmers, which I'm actually really liking. Like a lot of companies are doing that now because a lot of people were getting broken shades when they arrived. This is a beautiful 6-pan. There's just like so much I feel like you can do with just 6 shades with this. I'm very excited. This was a release from 2024. I think they had a couple of 6-pans in this style packaging, but I only picked up this one. Can't remember what the other one was like. I just felt like this color story I would get more use out of. And then I'm actually really excited to try this Titanium Foxes. This is the Poppy Quiet palette. I want to say they cater to like more mature lids or just people who are a little bit more mature who still like to wear makeup. I think is kind of what I read from their website. I'm sorry, we're getting the reflection. But look at this. You guys, there's some really delicious formulas in here. Look at this whole section over here is like the translucent multi-chrome section, but even this is like a multi-chrome. To me, it looks green. There, you can probably see it, but it's purple. This one too. Oh, yummy. Just yummy. There's not enough eyelids and not enough days in the year. I will get through all of these for 2025, I think. I'm gonna try. Then from Gloss Gods, the Your Forever Love. I had points with them, so I picked up some palettes, and I don't think this is necessarily the color story of my dreams because it's not like super unique, I think. I mean, it's just not unique to my collection. And the shimmers don't look as exciting, but it was free because of the points that I had with them. So I think the 3 palettes that I was showing you guys, this one, there's this one right here, and the other one that I was showing you from Gloss Gods. I want to say it was like the Gallon Mars or something like that. This is the Lychee palette. This one is even more neutral and desaturated. This is actually like a heavy shimmer palette. There's only 3 mattes in here. Shimmer, but like satin shimmers, if you will. It might be an everyday wearable palette, but it doesn't look like the same formula as the Let's Get Nude palette. All right, Saint Angel Sinners is Blessed. This is an older release, and ooh, nice. Their palettes are always so different. Their packaging is different. The pan sizes are different. They're different sizes. It's just very interesting. Say Angel Sinners just seems to like not stick with a theme like some other indie brands. You can't always tell what they are, you know, just by the packaging. There isn't like a dead giveaway, but look at the color story. Yum, yum, delicious. I just like when you throw in a black, when you have like deeper shimmers, you can just do a lot with a color story like that in my personal opinion. All right, last but not least, all the palettes I have to show you, these are the final 5. These were actually slated to do my next palette a day video with, or eyeshadow palette a day video. So these are actually in a separate bin because they were kind of going in order because I thought that they were more cool toned palettes. This one's from Clarity Cosmetics. The Stained Glass palette was actually a release from 2024. And this again looks like a very different formulation from Clarity Cosmetics than some of the ones I have tried and have seen released that are older. So I'm actually hopeful, even though the Deadly Rose palette was one of the bad palettes and was a release of 2024, this just looks different than that. So I'm hoping that it is. I don't know though, I'm scared. That one might fall apart. Kind of looks like it's a little bit sandy. I hope not. Oh, I forgot about this one from Diaverin Cosmetics. It's Warlock of the Wood. I said that I was excited to pick up more, but this actually did release this year and I did pick this up. And I want to say this is what, their third? I don't think they have very many releases. Like I want to say this is a fairly new brand. So yeah, but again, something very interesting about this color story because you can go like deeper with these outer corner shades, but also like pair with the multi-chrome that's like a super like neon green to like silver. I don't know, color stories like this where they do go pretty dark but also can lean neutral with some pops of color are just really interesting to me. And the Diaveroon Cosmetics formula was really good. Here's another one from Kryptine Cosmetics. This one was, oosh, I can't remember what this palette was. All of their stuff, like the writing is in Chinese, but then usually you can see it somewhere on the inside of the palette. Yes, this one's called the Atlantis palette. A lot more shimmers here. This one is very similar to the Burnt Forest one that I showed you guys earlier. That same size, same pan size, same number of shades. Cool, so cool, delicious. This was the first company that threw in these in all of their palettes over the shimmers, and also they threw in this really fancy chest looking piece that's a magnet to pull these out. First brand to ever do that, and every time I order a palette they send me a new magnetized chest piece thing. I don't know what they're called, but I think that's such a nice touch from a brand when they have a magnetic palette, because none of the other ones I've tried have done that. This is also from C Beauty Mall, but I can't remember the brand on this. I think it's probably on the palette. No, it isn't. I totally forget what this is. It's like Chereep, I think is the brand on this. It's such a beautiful, cool tone color story. I have swatched it, but I haven't used it yet. These C Beauty Mall or C Beauty brand eyeshadows, I feel like are killing it. Some of them have been really good. Now, I've had some duds, but that's normal in everything. But they have honestly been killing it for me in 2024. All right, and the very final one is the Cool Chills palette from Cosmic Brushes. Ta-da! There she is. This is nice. It is really nice. I'm not sure how I feel about Cosmic Brushes formula just yet. I don't think it's the best of all the indie brands, but I do like their price point. Anyway, let me do a final count on all of the stuff that I am decluttering. I will be right back. Okay, guys, we are back. I just counted. I am decluttering 44 eyeshadow palettes, and I'm letting go of 40, exactly 40 different single eyeshadow products. So I am in total decluttering 84 things. That feels really good, but 44 palettes versus 40 individual singles, I feel like that's a lot. Like definitely in the singles department because those lived in one drawer. I feel really good about it. I think I actually decluttered more than I thought I was going to. I don't know how much I started with, and I wouldn't even necessarily count the ones I haven't tested yet because those are really just in my collection. So it was more of a collection style video than really something that was kind of eligible for a declutter. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. Again, all of these palettes that I have not tested yet are going to be included in my eyeshadow palette a day video. So if you guys are interested in seeing that and you haven't subscribed, you guys, I'd love to see you subscribe. I am out of here for this very long video. I hope you all are having a wonderful new year so far, and I hope to catch y'all in my next video. Bye guys.